Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 278th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening we have Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, Donny Baseball, Adam Smido-Smith has just jumped on the call as well, ready to let it all hang out, and a very special return. I'm sure you'll all be pleased to hear this. We have the Tommy, the Guru Allen back on. He sounds a bit like Tyson Fury.
The man is back.
Go on, Tommy.
All right, lads. Good to
Hey,
be
you,
back.
Tom, you okay?
I'm good, man. I've just been busy lately, been away on holiday and stuff like that, so I'm going to get back into podcasting.
You've been hiding since Kyle got pot for a fucking drugs, you cunt.
He passed the hair test, mate. What can I say? Clean athlete. Hashtag.
Fake news.
Hashtag clean athletes. Don't worry, Tommy. We'll be coming to you on potentially clean athletes very shortly in our top of the bill, so to speak. We're also going to be going over stateside later on to the likes of Leo Santa Cruz, his rematch with LSC-MARES, CRAWFORD-HORN, all the stuff next week. I think we've got a bit of Errol Spence, a bit of Eddie. Eddie's got a show on in Newcastle as well. Plenty of Bellew of the Weeks, loads and loads of questions to get through, and all the other usual banter and bullshit. We shall start off in the Manchester Arena, Saturday the 9th of June. I know Terry Flanagan, Maurice Hooker, some people were talking about that being top of the bill. That wasn't really the top of the bill. Obviously, it was big Tyson Fury against SEFER. We'll come to you first, Tommy. I was shitting on this last night, to be honest. I thought it was a bit of a circus, a bit of a farce. It was classic Frank, really, wasn't it? All the bits and pieces. You had Fury running around for the first couple of rounds, showboating, not really doing anything. You had a very visible scrap at ringside, which obviously you put a video up of, which was completely visible on BT Sport, which wouldn't have looked good. Then Frank gets in the ring and tries to talk about Manuel Char had quit on his stool. It just didn't go well. Looking at it today, Tommy, I'm going to give them a bit of a pass. I think personally that Fury, for all his bravado, for all his bullshit, for all his perceived self-confidence, was coming back after 2.5 years. I think he was a little bit nervous. And I think a lot of the antics were there to cover up the fact that he was a little bit nervous. And it took him a few rounds to just get back into the groove and get back into the swing of things and do his business in the ring where it belonged. What do you think about that, Tommy? Do you think the big fella maybe would have been feeling the nerves last night?
I'd possibly, mate. You could be spot on there. Let's not beat around the bush here. The fight was a complete farce. The opponent was a farce. Tyson fucked about too much in there. He should have just went in. The guy was nearly wanting to engage, but Tyson should have just been more professional, got the job done. But as you say, it's his first fight back after 2.5 years, so we can't really hold that against him. It would be harsh to judge him on that. It was all about getting the weight off, getting him back into the ring. That was a tune-up fight, fair play. So, as I says, we can't be too harsh on him after that last night. Well, it's all about the next opponent. As Frank Warren says last night, he's going to step the opponents up. The next opponent should be considerably better. So I'm going to wait and I'm going to judge Tyson on that on his next performance. That was hard to watch last night. I'm a massive Tyson Fury fan. I'm really glad he's back. I still think he could potentially be the best heavyweight in the world, but there is still a lot of weight to shift. He's definitely 2 stone overweight. A lot of people were saying he looks fast and that. I didn't think he looked fast last night. He's obviously still got a wee bit of hand speed in that, but I thought he looked very sluggish, but which is also to be expected for being away so long. But as I said, there's a lot of weight. There's still a lot of weight to get shifted. There's a lot of work to be done in the gym. I'd like to see him back with Peter Fury. I've nothing against his trainer now. It's Ben Davison. I didn't know nothing. I don't know much about the guy, but Peter Fury was that was a proven formula that worked. I'd like to see him go back with Peter. I don't know what's went on there behind the scenes, but there's a lot of work to be done with Tyson before he gets back to the level he was at. Last night he gets a pass for that, but next time he needs to be better, much better.
Throw me out some names then, Tommy, off the top of your head.
Manuel Char or David Price, that's where I'd go to. David Price is maybe a bit dangerous for his next fight. For a way, a lot of people take the piss out Price and that. He's not got a great chin, but he can bang. And Tyson, as I said last night, I don't think he looked too quick on his feet. He's definitely much faster on his feet when he's lighter. If he's going to be like that, David Price got a chance of landing punches. So I'd go with Manuel Char next week. That's a credible enough opponent for his second comeback fight. He's probably a top 20 heavyweight or thereabouts. So get that done. Then after that, I would maybe be looking for I talk about this Tony Bellew fight. I'd love to see that fight personally if Tyson can get back to his best. I'm still got a bit gutted about my man David Hay losing the rematch. I've not been on the podcast since, but I noticed for that one. So I'd love to see Tyson getting that one back for me.
Good stuff. Good to have Tommy back as well. I know that a few people are mentioning the likes of Char, the likes of David Price. I think that the vibe last night was that they're going to take things slowly. And that was a low foundation, a low bar that they started off with last night. So I don't think it's going to be anyone like even a Price, to be honest, next time round. I think it's going to be another numpty, a level up from Seferi possibly, but that's not really saying much. I know that Doc Asif was in touch with us. He said, did Seferi's stock go up last night? And do you see... And do you see him and his brother teaming up to make a movie like the Klitschko Brothers DVD? Now, I mean, the thing is, what a lot of people might not know is that on Friday night, the night before Tyson Fury fought Seferi, Nuri Seferi, the #1 cruiserweight in Albania or Macedonia or wherever it was, Sefer's brother, was also busy fighting against Taylor Mabika on Friday night out in the boxing hotbed of Gabon, which is out in Africa, in case anybody is unsure about that. The vacant WBC Francophone title was on the line as well, Andy. So the boxing Seferis were representing on both nights over the weekend. All joking aside, one of the problems for me was Seferi was just too small. 15 stone, cruiserweight. They could have found a numpty at heavyweight at least, who at least looked the part. Even someone like a Matthew Greer, somebody who would have at least come up to Tyson's throat. I thought it was ridiculous the way Seferi, fair play to him, he did have a go, but those slapping shots and Tyson sort of batted them away like a fly. It did look like an old Primo Carnera fight, didn't it, Andy? It was embarrassing from a visual perspective.
See, to be honest, mate, I think I tweeted it during the fight that potentially Seferi could have been or should have been disqualified. He didn't do nothing, he barely threw anything. Even if he did kind of throw it out, he kind of got swatted away, as you said. I agree with Tommy, and I said it last week as well. You know, give him this, get him back in the ring, see where he's at, and we know where he's at. He needs a couple of fights, maybe under the lights, just get the rust off, get the weight off. But based off that last night, that was shit. And I've been trolling Dale on Twitter and stuff, just winding people up just for a bit of a laugh, and that saying that Fury's #1 heavyweight in the world at the minute. I know he's been talking about Char, he's been talking David Price. Apparently, these might be the names he's looking at next. He needs to be stepped up. I suppose we could say it was a wee bit of shades at Ali last night. You know, he'd be kind of shuffle and stuff, but all in all, it was just shit all round. I really didn't want to go too deep on it. Some of that is you get a guy coming off a 2.5 year layoff, back in the ring. I'll leave it at that. We knew what we were going to get last night, but I was expecting a wee bit more for the opponent. It's just, you know, he knew he was up against it. It's just, you know, the whole build up to it, the weigh in, this kind of cuddly approach and stuff. You know, okay, it's good to be back in that. And I know this guy was claiming that Fury was his idol or he looks up to him, so to speak. But you expect him to kind of like throw a fucking punch and maybe just, you know, go for it. But and then I really don't know the reason for retiring like that. He didn't seem to be injured. It didn't take much of trimming him because Fury didn't seem to land much. So yeah, shit. But I think it's on to the next fight, and it needs to be a step up in class. Someone basically ranked in the top, I would say the top 10. And again, I go back to what I said maybe 3-4 weeks ago, that the heavyweight division is shit at the minute. We've got Fury back. It's good to see, but we need to see him in the mix with the top guys, because, you know, guys like Tom Schwartz, Takam's past his best. BG Flores is ranked in the tops. I think he's in the top 10 actually with WBA. I think I read the other day that it's a fucking shambles. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if Fury was to, like, target him. He's basically aiming for Char. And then obviously the other person you got kind of also hanging about is Shannon Briggs. So yeah, but I think if we're going to be looking at, like, say, top end, like maybe like a top 5, top 10 opponent, I think we'll probably be waiting to at least next year for that.
Wouldn't be surprised, Andy, to be honest with you. We're going to go stateside with Donny and then Gabe, and then obviously Smido's on the call as well. I was asking on the Facebook page last night, what did we learn about Fury from his comeback? We learned Frank has claimed Bellew of the Week, says David Porval, for saying that Char quit in his corner and he was disappointed with him. Teddy Watson said, if you expected to see a Fury similar to the one in Germany 1,000 days ago, then you're an idiot. He still has weight to lose, so why not fight a pushover to lose some ring rust and getting that fight night feeling back whilst losing the weight and getting back into shape? Good to see all the AJ fanboys out in force again tonight, now that Fury didn't look spectacular. Would you class yourself, Donny, as an AJ fanboy? And would you say that Tyson Fury was or was not spectacular last night? You with us, Don? Donnie.
What was that question again, Steve? Was it
This
fact?
Our friend Teddy Watson was just saying the AJ fanboys were out in force, basically shitting on Fury, and just because he didn't look spectacular. I mean, you know, just wondering what Donnie was thinking about that, but Donnie doesn't seem to be thinking anything.
It's weird actually, because I was having a bit of ding dong back and forward with the guys there last night on Twitter. You know, they actually brought up the Steve Cunningham dropping him. You know, oh, he got dropped off a cruiserweight and stuff. But these are the same fucking people who are actually, you know, after 2.5 years out the ring, retweeting Tony Bellew, who is what? A fucking cruiserweight. Come on, guys.
A lot of Tony Bellew talk in the chat, actually. They're also downplaying Manuel Charr as a future opponent, and there's a lot of love for Nathan Gorman, not as a future Fury opponent as yet, but Gorman did look impressive last night. We'll be coming on to him soon. Don't worry about that part of the heavyweight landscape. Gabe, tell me about Tyson Fury. What about this comment from Kevin Clark over on the Facebook page? He says, just like most Fury fights, it was a farce and a joke. The build-up is always going to be better than the fight. People going overboard again. They need to remember his best win was against Vlad in the most boring fight I have seen in years, and Vlad never threw a punch for 6 rounds. Bellew would have battered him tonight, in my opinion, says Kevin Clark. What do you think about that, Gabe? Do you think Bellew would have battered Fury last night?
Well, I know for sure he would have put up a fight. I mean, all reality is that he was nervous, still not in great shape, and just trying to find his footing, being back in the ring. I mean, you know, you went from being possibly the biggest draw at heavyweight to nothing for you know, just over 2.5 years. And then you come back and people expect you to come back at 110%. And it's completely unrealistic. I mean, whether you're talking about boxing or baseball or you know, soccer or any sport, it doesn't matter what you're you know, talking about. If you spend that long out of the game and you come back, there's going to be some time where you have to readjust and get your feet back under you, so to speak. And so I think that comment's completely off base, number one, because of the fact that, you know, you're comparing apples and oranges. Bellew hasn't had that long layoff. I do think he could have provided some interesting moments. He would have made Fury fight a little bit and made him work, but I don't think he would have smashed him. I mean, Bellew is Bellew. So, you know, he's going to be a certain kind of fighter that we've seen and we know, and he's going to behave that way in any fight that he's in. But at the same time, I mean, to slag off the whole career of Tyson Fury as being boring and a farce is completely idiotic. He danced circles around Vladimir. He, prior to that, was never in a fight for that little stretch of time there where I thought it was boring. I mean, you know what I mean? It's heavyweight boxing. So if you get bored with it, you know, you probably need to go down and wait a little bit. You know, it's just one of those things where I don't know. What are you looking for? I mean, whenever you watch him get hit by Steve Cunningham and get knocked down, was that not entertaining? You know, what are you talking about with it being all boring and, excuse me, farcical? I mean, the guy's definitely going to be, as he said, I will acknowledge that part, that he is interesting. The build-up is always going to be great. But, you know, you just, I don't know what you're looking for. You looking for Anthony Joshua? I mean, what do you see as being exciting? Being in a life and death fight with Klitschko that's old? Or do you favor the boxing that Fury did in his fight with Klitschko? What, you know, I don't know. To me, it sounds like the guy's just bitter. He sounds like a Joshua fanboy, and I kind of discredit most of that statement. But last night wasn't fun to watch. I mean, it really wasn't. I don't know of anybody that would really say that it was a good show. You know, even though I'm kind of on the side of bringing back with somebody a little bit, you know, lower level, still, I think that was a little bit too far on that scale. You know, bringing back with somebody that's actually a heavyweight. I mean, the size difference was enough to make it laughable, but, you know, then the way it played out was just bad too. So I think it was poor opponent selection more than anything on that fight last night. But I mean, he really didn't look all that great, and I think it's to be expected.
Yeah, I think Travis Kaufman's boxing tonight on PBC, maybe on Fox Sports 1 or something. Even someone like him would have been better. Like I said, visually, if they'd have seen someone who at least physically looked like they could have gone toe-to-toe with Fury, even if that wasn't the reality, would have looked better than that little midget. I think that was the worst thing for me. Edward Mays says, we learnt nothing other than Frank will take him down the WBA regular route. BT won't be happy as it was a farce tonight. John Sullivan said, it didn't look good, Tyson, especially when there's loads of pikeys boxing each other's head off outside the ring. Thanks for that, John. Richard Swig, he's a long way from being the man he was in Germany 2.5 years ago. And Michael Gearty, Smido, says, guaranteed a world title shot by the end of the year. Sounds like Fury versus Char in Frank's first BT pay-per-view. Fury, no, Smido even. I'm not a betting man, but I would have known there was no value to be had in that main event last night. I know you've cancelled Box Nation. You wouldn't have been able to have seen it on Box Nation anyway. Maybe we could see Frez Oquendo shoehorned in there. We're big fans of Frez on the pod. I'm not going to be ringing him anytime soon, but why not Smid? If it's going to be Char, why not Frez?
Frez, what's his name? Shannon Briggs, Manuel Char. Basically, all the jokes of the heavyweight division that are still hanging around for a payday, they're going to be under consideration. Steve, I've often spoke on here about expectations and delivery. I've got no problem with Tyson Fury off 960 days needs a bit of a soft touch coming back. I've got no problem with that. But when Frank Warren puts a statement out or in an interview, which Tom Craze has been speaking about on Twitter for the last week about Fury not being the main event, you know, he won't be the main event. Terry Flanagan's the main event. So that's the expectation. The delivery was all week, it's about Tyson Fury, and obviously he was the main event. You know, we've had Tyson Fury saying, setting the expectation, saying he's going to fight a top 10 heavyweight on his return. We all knew that that wasn't the case, but he set the bar there, and that what they've delivered is an Albanian cruiserweight. You know, and then we've also this week on BT, they've done some quite good footage and interviews, etc., and content on Fury, but he set the expectation by saying he's had the best camp ever with this Ben Davis, and then he turns up on Friday and the delivery is he's over 2 stone overweight, as Tommy mentioned earlier. You know, they just need to manage the expectations, because we don't expect Fury to go in with a world beater. We don't expect him to weigh in and trim and ready like he was against Klitschko. But they're saying that he's going to be all that, and then what they're delivering is next to nothing. As Michael said on the question, he set the expectation now by quoting a world champion by the end of the year. Now that might come in the form of Manuel Char, but as we all saw last night, he's not ready to. He's not anywhere near back to his best. And you know, fair enough, he's been out all those days. But I don't know why you need to say such outlandish things and then deliver the complete opposite. I've not watched the fight, and I won't be watching the fight. And we'll go through the reason in a minute. But I've had a text from my friend who's definitely a casual and likes to have a go at me every time that boxing shoots itself in the foot, which is regularly. His analysis was spent the first round doing an alley shuffle. The next round they watched the jippos in the crowd fighting. The lad literally didn't take a jab, and then didn't come out for the fourth round or fifth round, whatever it was. And that seems about right to me. I can't really add much to the Fury performance. What I can add to, Steve, is the Box Nation situation.
Yes, come on, Smido. Come on.
Well, I rang up Monday and cancelled. So yeah, that was done. So yeah, they said that I said, you know, is Tyson Fury on Box Nation? And the reply on Monday was, it's not currently in our schedule. The reply to people on Twitter yesterday was, and I quote, unfortunately, Box Nation was unable to secure the rights for the return of Fury. Now, Frank Warren has put on his biggest show of the year so far in terms of casual interest and outside interest, obviously due to Fury. The biggest name on his books is now Tyson Fury. There's a 4-fight deal we're led to believe. Obviously, last night was one. So he's got his biggest event of the year, and it's not on the channel that he owns and he launched and he runs, whatever, however you want to phrase it. I think that is absolutely, honestly, I cannot explain how baffling.
The big money's coming from BT, clearly, in this case. Steve, they're the ones who've pushed the Fury thing.
Absolutely. But again, they're not managing the expectations. If BT is the long-term plan, fair play. That I think some of the content that they produce for the likes of football is vastly different to what's on Sky. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it's vastly different, and it's quite enjoyable to someone that's used to watch it, as we all are, used to watching Sky's output on football or cricket. You know, BT got the Ashes and stuff like that. It is refreshing to go over to BT. If that's the long-term plan for Frank Warren in his promotional outfit, no problem.
Yeah, I think it is, Smith. I think they're going to hoover up Box Nation. I think that was always the plan, to be honest.
And that's fair enough. I think that will bring, obviously, the investment, the expertise, the production, no problem. But don't lie to fans like me who I'm a Sky Sports subscription that costs me an arm and a leg every month anyway. Then I pay £12 extra for my Box Nation. And then I tune in this week. There's a lot of hype around Tyson Fury.
Cancelled that.
We're all glad to see him back, and it's not fucking on my TV. And I'm paying upwards of £60 a month, and I can't even watch the biggest card of the week. So Box Nation's gone. You know, it's everyone can see what they're doing with BT is taking up the Box Nation stuff, and they're gonna be that exclusive home of Tyson Fury. No problem, but stop lying to fans and be honest about it. The Box Nation schedule, as we speak right now, is that super middleweight Ramirez against an Angulo that I've never heard of. They seem to have him on all the time. They announced Pacquiao and Matisse this week. On June the 23rd, they've only got one fight listed for Dubois against Little. I'm sure the likes of Yarde were meant to be on there. And so there's 3 fights they've got listed. The 4th fight and 4th event they've got listed is on the 30th of June, which is Conlon against the TBA. It literally says TBA on the Box Nation schedule right now. Like, it's unacceptable.
It's a Brazilian Adilson something, I think.
Yeah,
Who fought Magdalena.
But on the Box Nation homepage, they've still got Terence Crawford versus Jeff Horn, June the 9th. Well, that was yesterday, guys. It's nowhere near good enough. So that's cancelled. And yeah, there was kicking off in the crowd, which seemed more entertaining, although not the highest quality crowd fight I've ever seen, having assessed it this morning. But yeah, Fury, Do you
think he was more competitive than SEFER, that guy who was throwing all the arm punches?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lad who I've asked. Like I said, I've not watched the fight and I won't. But I've asked him, "Are you winding me up?" Like, they said that there weren't even hardly any punches landed on this kid, and there's a rumor going about that Frank's basically called an end to the fight himself. So Fury, apparently you can see on video him saying, "Is that enough?" And Frank said, "Yeah." It's the whole thing's a joke. If Tyson Fury was out at 8:30, 9 o'clock last night, going through the motions after all these days off, getting the win, saying a few funny sound bites on the mic, no problem. But like I say, the delivery and expectation is so far away.
Smido, I know that everyone in the chat's riveted about this Box Nation cancellation update, and I believe that it's not just Fury. Apparently, I think it was AJ's Glutes on Twitter was saying that Flanagan, well, lol, now after last night, Frampton and Billy Joe Saunders are also going to go over and be exclusive on BT Sports as well. So this fight that Frampton's supposed to be involved in Windsor Park, the guy's name escapes me. Someone put it in the chat, actually.
Luke Jackson, is it?
Luke Jackson, that's it. Yeah, they're talking about this Australian Jackson. That is also, are we assuming that's going to be on BT as well?
My thing is, though, Steve, I don't think, I've mentioned this before, Fury may be a little bit different, but I don't think Frank necessarily promotes Cole Frampton. I just think that it's a platform for Frampton, given that he's fell out with Edward and Barry. It's a platform for him. I think it's kind of like that with Fury, and in a way, he was like that with the likes of Lee Selby. Obviously, in that fight, Frank Warren probably technically promoted both. I don't know, but he's not. Fury and Frampton aren't in the same boat as Billy Joe Saunders and Terry Flanagan for me, if you see what I mean in terms of Frank.
Well said. Right, are you back with us, Donny? Because I have a question from William Taylor relating Fury and in relation to Amir Khan. Donny? Going once, going twice. No. Right, Tommy, we'll come to you on this one then. I'm not sure where Donny is. It's from William Taylor. It's quite a long question, Tommy, but it's worth it. He said, lots of hardcore boxing fans are giving Fury a pass for his choice of opponent and the way in which he fought the contest. When Amir Khan came back after 2 years, many of the same people slated him for the standard of opposition. The same for Brooks' first fight at 154 after getting smashed in his previous 2 fights. Fury had a great win, ballooned up to 27 stone, pulled out of fights, took coke and peds and wasted his talent. Do hardcore fans get behind Fury because he hasn't been as marketed as strategically as Joshua, or because he isn't linked with Matchroom? It seems that many hardcore fans, Tommy, call out fighters who are inactive, fail drug tests and waste talent. Fury seems to tick all those boxes, yet lots of people forgive him for this. Is it a double standard?
Well, there's a lot of people out there actually don't believe that he did take the PEDs to begin with. A lot of people, and as I say, who are the UCAD said at the very start, it likely it came from contaminated meat. So if that's what they're saying, I know there's people that won't believe. There's people out there who believe that everybody who actually fails a drug test is a PED cheat, and that's really not the case. We've seen Canelo recently as well. He took the hair test, and he's obviously, that's set him free. The hair test, and all the top guys are saying that. Victor Conti's saying it, Memo Haredi, all the experts, Gabe Montoya, that is the most accurate test out there. No, Canelo's obviously past that. So not everybody that is popped is a cheat. I'm not a big fan of, I'm a big fan of Fury and Canelo, and maybe it sounds like I'm sticking up for him, but I've said this in the past as well. Dillian White, who I'm not a big fan of, I don't think Dillian White cheated either. He was obviously tested positive a long time ago. Enzo Martinelli's another one. I don't think Enzo cheated intentionally. Andre Berto was ripped to bits, but I think he was popped. I don't think he cheated intentionally either. I'm not an expert on this subject. It's just my opinion. I don't think. I think there's an element of boxing fans out there who believe everybody who tastes positive is a drugs cheat, and they've been up to some for a long time. And that just that's not the case. I think Tyson, the thing with Tyson Fury, he's coming back from mental illness, being well documented, and that I think that's how a lot of fans and that are getting behind him as well, where he's came for obviously the weight and that. So to answer the question, if Tyson's, a lot of people will see it as Tyson's been unwell and that, and he's been away. It's different with Brook, it's different with Can, blah blah blah. They should have been in the ring. I'm a massive Can fan, but there's really no excuse for him being away so long. A couple of times, but Tyson's always had a lot of well documented problems. These problems are documented even before he was inactive. It's been no secret for years that he's a bit mental, you know. So as I say, it's more than just one thing. It's quite a few things. A lot of people didn't think they'd ever see him back in the ring again, and to be quite frank, where he's came from is an achievement in itself. As I said earlier, and that last night was a bit of a farce, but onwards and upwards now. The next opponent has to be better, and he needs to improve.
Tommy, I think there's a lot of goodwill behind Fury, you know, especially from boxing fans. I think there's a lot of goodwill. He's anti-establishment. He has genuinely had some mental health issues, and he's using that as to try and inspire and talk about it. I genuinely think he's doing a good job there. He's not with Edward or the boys, which I think helps his cause in terms of the hardcores and probably the casuals as well. I do think there's been some good support.
At least the hardcore fans out there aren't fans of him. The ones I see put on that and talk to and that. Anyway, there's no lot of them really like Tyson Fury. They're really the self-proclaimed hardcores. They're really the ones that are saying that he's a cheat. Everybody who gets popped is a cheat, you know. So, and that's their opinion, and they're entitled to it. But it's just not the way it is. As you say, so he doesn't care. I've always liked him. I thought from very early in his career it was a talented fighter. I didn't actually think he'd go this far because I didn't think he was dedicated enough. But you could see the talent was there, and we did start getting dedicated. You could see he was going to do a bit of damage. He's a really, really good fighter, and he doesn't care what he says either. And that appeals to me. I like him. That's probably a lot of people not like him as well, as you said, Smeed. The way he appeals to a lot of people.
Tommy, just on the wider point in the heavyweight division, we haven't had you on obviously for a while now. We've had the whole Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder fiasco going backwards and forwards. Frank let slip with last night about Joshua Povetkin being pretty much nailed down. The wider heavyweight landscape. What's happening?
Well, apparently Al Heyman's skint, isn't he? He's not proved that he's got any money to make this Deontay Wilder fight, eh? Or so Mr. Hearn's saying, which is absolute shite. The guy's made some of the biggest fights of all time. Cashed, he's sent out $300 million, $400 million checks to Floyd Mayweather, but Eddie Hearn can't meet the Wilder. He can't show Eddie Hearn proof of funds for the Wilder fight. A lot of shit. I think it'll be Povetkin. It's Povetkin's man. I don't think they want to fight Deontay Wilder just now. They maybe want another couple of fights at Wembley, really make that money. Then they're going to go after the dangerous fights. I think it'll happen next year. They'll maybe go with Wilder next year. Maybe Fury at the end of next year, the year after, if he beats Wilder. I'll be shocked if it's made. They're mooting around February just now. I'll be shocked if it's made in February. I think they'll maybe go Povetkin and then Big Baby Muller. Big Baby Muller's he's been told by Eddie Hearn that he's getting that fight very soon. That's his words. So I think that's clearly the path that's been plotted. Hearn said himself a while ago that he wanted to take Joshua over to America to fight Muller, and when this Povetkin shit started, he's obviously saying now that Anthony Joshua's got to fight in the UK, blah blah blah. So make your mind up, Eddie. What are you going to do?
Tommy, sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that the UK insistence is maybe something to do with StubHub? I've heard this mentioned before. You know, the way they're going to turn around and say, we're the main sponsors of Joshua. We don't want you going off to America. This is where our money's made.
Are they the main sponsors, though?
That could very well be the case. Whenever you see Anthony Joshua and a build up to a fight, you see the ring. It's absolutely covered in StubHub. You know, that's they're obviously got a big say in what's happening in that. They're obviously rolling in their pockets and that over there, and that's great for them. It's not great for us, but you could be very well on point there. He's making a lot of money here as well. If it makes, I'm all for it. If it makes financial sense here, then have the fight here. If it's going to make more money in America, go to America. If the big casinos come in, they want to buy this fight. I don't care how many people you're going to take into Wembley. You're not going to make more money than you are with a casino fight.
Vegas trumps everything, doesn't it? With the tax thing.
New York was always a make-up box, and when Vegas came along, trumps everything. The casinos want to fight, they take the fights, don't they? But they need to. We need to see if they want to do that, and I believe they probably would, because when you seen when Ricky Hatton was going over there, he was taking a lot of fans. Manny Pacquiao took a lot of fans, and that the casinos would pay big money to take these fights because they knew they were getting a lot of people were going to come into casinos and they were going to spend money. So yeah, I'm sure they'd be interested in these fights, but.
I think they've tied themselves in knots, Tommy, to be honest. Like Steve said, we're going to go to America. They was talking about going to America the back end of last year or even the year before. And then all roads were pointing towards Big Baby Miller. And then they've had their bluff called, and then they've reversed, and then they're looking at a mandatory with Povetkin. I think they've tied themselves in knots. I was, after his last fight, Joshua with Parker, I was probably the most confident out of everyone on here that it would be Wilder next, but obviously that confidence is waning now because frankly I think they're fucking about.
Steve's just made a great point there. It could actually be doing the StubHub. I've not actually thought about that before.
He's got a lot of sponsors though.
I think they're one of the main personal sponsors of him. I think Smido. I think they're one of the main personal sponsors, and even from a point of view of the likes of. Maybe not links and that, but I mean, I can see them wanting him here. But StubHub, I think, have a good say, Smith. I really do.
Like they're saying that we've built the fan base here, and we've sold 500,000 tickets over 2 years, or whatever the stats are. Yeah, fair enough. But even if they go over to America and get beat by Deontay Wilder, he's only still pretty young, Joshua. So there's still chance to come back and do another Cardiff or another Wembley or another 5.
They could do what they did with Bellew and Stevenson.
Wilder, come back here.
Brush it under the carpet.
They should just stop showing the Wilder fight. They should never show it again on Sky. Right, let's move on, boys. We're going to go on to the undercard shortly. Andy, final question to you on this particular subject. Dascon4. He said, why are the majority of Tyson Fury fans so deluded about the drugs issue? The same fans are slating Canelo, then denying Tyson he's juiced off his tits. Pretty much what we were talking about, Andy. Your view on it?
See, the thing with the Fury, I've got to be honest, the Fury thing got so convoluted. I actually was interested in it. It ended up in a legal mess. I've been on the UCAD website numerous times over the last 3-4 years reading up on, Smido, for example, is a big rugby league fan. I was winding him up constantly about the players being on juice and stuff, and I was reading up all these stuff and that, but there was the one thing that was missing. You could never get anything on Fury. So Again, I forget. I really do forget because it got so drawn out as to why he got banned for the 2 years. I know he got caught sniffing the Charlie. I think was it the Charlie he got done for, or was it a weight cutter he got done for? I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. Is it double standards? I kind of, and then I agree with Tommy as well. As no every drug case is exactly the same. They've got to be treated on their own merits. What is cheating? I believe Canelo was cheating. I believe he was trying to cut to make the weight. If the drug that Tyson got done for, if it's the non-cocaine one, if it is the drug that I think it was for cutting weight, then potentially it is, because Tyson himself would always admit that he wasn't an athlete. He blew up between fights. We saw his sizing before the Klitschko rematch got announced and stuff at the press conference. So maybe it's legit. I really don't know.
And Tyson was Nandrolone, wasn't he?
Was it Nandrolone? So that's basically that's a weight cutter. I could see that. Again,
see, the thing with Canelo is, Canelo's really only he's a light middleweight as well. That's why I can't see him trying to cut weight to fight a middleweight.
He's probably trying to bulk.
But I know that Clayton's. I'm sure that can be used as a masking agent as well, can't it?
I think Canelo's been trying to bulk, and also at the same time as trying to kind of cut it. Or maybe I really don't know. But with Tyson, again, as I say, I personally think if it is Nandrolone, it's been done as a weight cutter, considering his past, I think it's probably legit.
Yeah, but Tommy's saying that, not all guys that fail drugs tests are cheats. But there's so much grey area. Is there any boxer that's ever been popped for drugs and said, "Yeah, sorry, I got that wrong. I was pumping myself with the roids. I wanted to smash someone's face in."
I know one MMA. That's how we look
at the facts, and we need to listen to what we're being told by the commissions, by people like UCAD and stuff like that.
But they're all invested anyway, or on the payroll.
I don't trust UCAD. I don't trust the likes of the Nevada Commission, like Bob Bennett, for example. That guy's he's too corrupt. He shouldn't be in that position.
I just think they're all at it, so let them crack on. I've said that before as well. That's very dangerous.
Let's see a free for all, man. Let's just everybody.
But it pretty much is that anyway. But no one's admitting it because we've got people popping for drugs tests, and the governing bodies keeping it quiet. We've got USADA and VADA that have got different protocols. UCAD have got different protocols. They're scared of saying Fury's a cheat because he's from a minority background, and he's got mental health issues. Just let everyone crack on. And then when people start dying, they'll have to deal with the consequences.
Exactly. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that Deontay Wilder hit somebody and they just turn to dust, man. Let them do it. Get them fucking crack on, mate.
Get that on episode 3.
We'll put that one on. Final comments in the chat. Patrick says Fury failed 3 tests, and Ayu Obayasu, I hope I've pronounced that right. Fury used the tactic of dragging this out until the opposition ran out of money. Doesn't prove he is innocent. Right, let's leave that for now. Donny, are you back with us? Thanks for coming on, Don.
Donny's not been with us at all.
We're talking about Hughie as well. Were they ever a band? Because during this supposed 2-year ban, Hughie actually fought.
But it was that stupid. Was it he fought Cassie, didn't he? Or was it the non-title thing?
He fought during that. I think he fought 3 times while Tyson was away. Well, he fought twice anyway.
It was a guy Molina. Eric Molina. Was it no Eric Molina? Was it not Eric Molina that guy fought?
No, Hughie's never beat anyone of that caliber.
my other point with Fury, my final point is why has no one asked the question or try and give an answer or talk about why is he not working with Mick and why is he not working with his uncle? Like that seems to have been brushed under the carpet as well. No one's asking the question.
I've interviewed him, Smido, and he's a big lad. Like, would you like to ask him?
I understand that, but they always talk about loyalty to Mick. So here's how the theory goes. Fury wanted to go with Frank, and his uncle and his cousin weren't happy with it. Fair enough. But there's a fine line between blind loyalty and stupidity. And because Mick Hennessy is an ongoing car crash and has been for possibly 5 or 6 or probably even more years, that is the fine line between blind loyalty and honouring him and stupidity. And it is pretty stupid that Hughie Fury is still with him.
I think you've answered your own question. I was going to say, Smitho, it's like getting in the car with a drunk driver each week, isn't it? Like, I mean, you've answered it yourself. Yeah. Right, let's move on. Gabe, we have a question in from Mark Halsall. He's talking about the Terry Flanagan Maurice Hooker fight off the undercard. He said, do any American referees give away the result the same way that Fat Terry does every single time there's a points decision? What he's referring to here is, Gabe, I noticed it as well. Fat Terry, throughout the whole decision after the Hooker Flanagan fight, had Hooker's arm and he was bashing it into his leg to try and tell him, you've got this fight, you've won this fight. And I mean, I don't know how you scored it, Gabe, but I know you're in the chat and everything. We thought that when we were talking to Steve Wood the other week, that Terry Flanagan pretty much would be nailed on to bit to win this fight because Hooker had struggled against Darlis Perez. He looked like a bit of a slapper. He didn't look the best fighter in the world. What happened, Gabe? Is Hooker better than we thought? Is Flanagan not as good as we thought? What's your assessment from that fight?
Number one is Flanagan's never been as good as a lot of people thought. To me, that would be the first place to start. I mean, I'm not saying he's awful, but he's limited, and his world title opportunities are always going to be if he's taken advantage of a situation where there's a low-level guy. Hooker is not that good either, though. I mean, I'll say it point blank. Again, I made a horrible prediction because I predicted that Flanagan was going to win. I thought it would be fairly close, but I thought it would be pretty clear that Flanagan won just because Hooker – I'll tell you what I've seen from him. Now, granted, he's had, 20 some odd fights maybe. He doesn't throw a straight right hand. Of course, prior till last night, his right hand always comes kind of loopy. So whether it's a hook or whether it's should be a straight right, it usually comes overhand. So the only time I've ever seen him throw really straight right hand punches are whenever he leads with a jab first. So it's always in combination. I thought his footwork has always been sloppy. I thought he never, any of the fights that I've seen, he hasn't ever really used his height and reach to his advantage. I'm not saying he's a gigantic guy, but he's not short and he's kind of, gangly. So it looks to me like he would be able to stay outside and jab a little bit more, which he did a good job of keeping the distance. But again, prior to last night, I've never seen him do it. So, I mean, I think he's better than probably I did give him credit for, but I still don't think he's going to keep that title long. I saw something about him going into the Super Series next. And if he does, he won't come out of that with his title for sure. That's a dead spot on. I thought the fight was close, not, draw close. But it was actually, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it definitely wasn't great either. I mean, Flanagan's just kind of low level, and he fights in a way that isn't real appealing. I don't think his footwork was very good too. He seemed off on his feet, being the way that I would have liked to see him come in would have been able to move in and out just a little bit more, but he didn't do it in a way that made it conducive to what he was trying to accomplish. And so he got caught damn near every time. So he do the little hop thing and then go in. So whenever you see him bounce a little bit, he's about to come in. And so Hooker was able to time him because I think he saw that too. I don't know. I mean, technically it was an ugly fight. Wasn't real pretty. I don't think very much of either fighter, to be honest with you, but it was better than it could have been, if it would have been maybe another way that the fight went the way that I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be kind of boring with Flanagan kind of moving in and out a little bit more as he pleased and just kind of doing a little bit of boxing and then moving the rest of the time. But I think the style that Hooker fought with his activity and his counter punches and landing more cleanly kind of made Terry have to fight more. And so I think that's the only thing that really kept it interesting because it was sloppy. It was a roughhouse, leading with the head, the whole time kind of
Yeah,
thing.
do you
So
think the referee should have got on that a bit more because he was blatant, wasn't he, with the head, Flanagan at times?
I feel like he was. From my point of view, I thought that the referee could have warned him quite a few times and possibly even taken a point, but it didn't seem like he was too interested on doing any of that stuff. And then, the scorecards were they just were bad. I thought they were bad. I didn't like the scores on that fight either. I thought they were off on all counts. I mean, in terms of, maybe I'm thinking of the MARES fight. What were the scorecards for this one?
It was 117, 111 each way, and then 115, 113 to Hooker. I mean, Hooker's from your neck of the woods, Gabe. If they brought Terry Flanagan over for a much anticipated rematch, would you be jetting on down there to Dallas to watch it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I would like to go watch the fights, yeah, but I wouldn't make it. It wouldn't be a priority where I'd be.
Would you take your piece?
Absolute
take your piece
casual.
with you?
Absolute casual.
Pack
What do
your
you
piece
mean?
and get down there.
Do what?
Pack your piece and get on down there, Gabe.
I mean, if there's more fights on the card that I want to see, but for this, no, not for Flanagan Hooker too. I mean, Jesus Christ! It's like I said, I don't rate either guy that highly, so it wouldn't to me, no. But if it came to Texas, first off, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, whenever Errol Spence fights here, next week or a couple weeks out or whenever that fight is against the Campo, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the worst scorecards of the year because it's fucking Texas. I mean, that's just what happens here. It's always going to be that way. So I don't know. I mean, I thought the scores were wide. I thought 117 was a little bit too far on both sides of that. I was thinking more 115, 113 was closer, but for Hooker for.
Yeah, well, when it comes to the main event between Spence and Ocampo, a fight that we will be discussing later, I wouldn't worry too much about scorecards because I don't think we're going to see any in that particular fight. I think Ocampo is going to get slept. Right, let's move on to the undercard, Andy. We had, it wasn't a bad undercard on paper, but it didn't really transpire to be anything great, to be honest with you. I mean, James Metcalf, this JJ Metcalf got the knockout in the end against Aitor Nieto. Mark Heffron beat Andrew Robinson. Robinson's too tough for his own good sometimes, I think. I was looking forward to Troy Williams and Jack Flatley. Didn't get to see that one. Massey knocked out Timms. Nathan Gorman was the standout, really. He knocked out Sean Big Sexy Turner in the third round. Mm-hmm. Colin Cooper's asking you, Andy, is Nathan Gorman ready for somebody like Robert Helenius? He's only 21, Gorman, but he looks like he's going places. Is he ready for someone like a Helenius already?
Absolutely. I think Gabe actually called it right, actually, when he responded to that question. He says, Robert Helenius isn't ready for Robert Helenius. I think... I actually tweeted out after that fight, like, okay, he was impressive. Sean Turner, actually, I mean, I watched him against Hergovich in the Human Password. He was fantastic in both fights to the sense as he was gritty, he was gutty, and he was willing to put it on the line. Last night, Gorman just looked like an absolute different level compared to him. Some people said to me last night that he's apparently pulled out of British or Commonwealth eliminators in the past or whatever, and that. I don't know what Warren's got planned for him or Ricky Hatton, for example, but Robert Helenius isn't great, never has been great, and it would be potentially maybe one of the second tier European title fight, for example. Obviously they're not going to match Gorman against Dubois, so I think guys like, obviously, okay, I'm going way off script by saying like guys like Okendo. I've noticed Guillermo Jones is ranked 8th with WBA, for example, at heavyweight, which is a disgrace.
Freaking, hang on a minute, Andy. So Guillermo Jones is 8 and BJ Flores is 10?
Yep, absolutely. I've just seen that there right now. You could do a half pass for him, for example. I just think, I like to see Gorman get stepped up in class, unless, okay, I think it's a Central Area champion at one point. British Commonwealth champs and stuff, it might be a bit of a push at the minute, for example, try to get the fights made and that. But I think, Robert Helenius is not any good. And I think Gorman, based off what he did there last night, showed a wee bit of variety to his boxing. Thought he was absolutely excellent there last night. Turner is obviously tough. Hergovich, he had to work for that victory there against Sean Turner. So I think definite Gorman would handle. I didn't say handle, but I think he would beat Helenius at this point in his career.
Got a bit of talent,
Absolutely.
hasn't he, Gorman? Like, he's skilled.
Absolutely, that's what it says. He's got a bit of variety, a bit of uppercuts, hooks, good jab. So absolutely, I think he's definitely got what's enough about him to beat the likes of bums like Robert Helenius. Absolutely.
Helenius is shot to bits. Helenius is shot to bits too, isn't he? He was never great to begin with. Plus he's shot. He's never near the level that he was once at either. So
put it this way,
Chisora Gorman shouldn't have a problem with him, should he?
Chisora beat him. Let's be truthful.
Oh, of course he did. That was everybody.
That was years ago, wasn't it?
Exactly, and
that was one of the biggest robberies ever, man. That
was probably all intents and purposes Helenius' prime, getting beat off to Chisora.
Quick word on Flanagan Hooker, Andy.
Mate, to be honest, I actually kind of switched back and forward in this fight. I think I gave it 4 or 5 rounds, and I started. I know I was really getting to be kind of itchy, and we were discussing it before the fight started. This is going to be difficult to watch. To me, he could have landed the right hook to the body a wee bit more. Okay, the guy had a long reach and stuff, but he was like Flanagan was throwing the left hand to straight left to the body, but he couldn't really kind of follow up the right hook. I think the shot was there for him to kind of land it. I just think he was really kind of put off by the guy's reach and his size. I think he had difficulty, and then obviously I was kind of batting back and forward, and that I just lost whole track of it. The scorecards again, I'm not surprised. You know, fucking hell. I had, to put it this way, I think I had the first 3 or 4 rounds that I watched. I thought I had Hooker winning the first 3 rounds minimum, but to have it like 117, 111 to Flanagan. That judge needs investigated. Simple as that. I mean, come on. Okay, I didn't watch the entire fight, but as I say, reading your guys' comments, I know Ozzy had made some comment on it as well and stuff like that. There's no way he won that fight 117, 111. That's just disgraceful. I know Warren's going crazy on it as well, but come on. There's no way that was a Flanagan victory there last night for me.
Smido, you didn't see the main event. I'm going to guess that the chances of you seeing any of this undercard are slim to anorexic.
No, I ain't watching that. Well, apparently it turned out to be a better fight than expected. Really, I still lost money on it, even though I didn't watch it. I mean, that's pretty standard. But yeah, Maurice Hooker, from what I've seen, I've only seen a little bit. It's just his length and reach has caused Terry Flanagan a lot of problems. I fully expected Flanagan to win, and he could well now just go into obscurity. He's moved up in weight, so he can't. He's already used that idea. I think he's probably already used his WBO credits, and so has Frank in regards to this particular fighter. I fear for where Flanagan goes next. I really do.
Is anybody really bothered if they see Terry Flanagan again?
No, I don't care.
I'm not a fuss, but can I ask? I've got a question to ask. Do you think Hooker will be seeded for the 140-pound tournament? And then there's another question.
They probably need to because he's a world champion.
Yeah, but another thing is, does Josh Taylor become unseeded because he's not got a title?
Maybe good. We need to see the draw.
Who's in it so far?
Right now? Who's actually looking for him?
So Progray's in it. He'll be seeded, won't he?
Yeah.
Kirill Relic.
I would say Kirill Relic because is he still? I don't know if he's still with Hatton, but if he is, I think that would be a given. Jose Ramirez, is he with top
No,
rank?
he's not. He's not going into it. He's fighting Danny O'Connor at the beginning of July, I think.
He's with Top Rank, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not going in it. I don't think.
So again, that fucking confirms for me that ESPN Top Rank is keeping back all their fighters because they've got the ESPN dates they need to cover, so they're keeping back all the best fighters. So
Isn't Yigit in it, Andy?
Anthony Yigit, mate, I thought he was going down in weight because remember he was going to duck Josh Taylor to go back to lightweight.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So you got Hooker, WBO champ, and the IBF is vacant. Yigit, he was meant to fight for the title at one point and then pulled out. Troyanovsky, he is ranked quite high with WBA, I'm sure. So
I think he's in it, Troyanovsky, isn't he?
So, Omar Figueroa is kind of high ranked with WBC.
Fuck him. He's a waste of time.
Yeah, he never make weight, that cunt as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I tell you what, this 140-pound tournament's kind of creeping round here, and I know a lot's been said about it. And see if you look at it, I've just brought up the rankings there at the minute. If you look at really deep down at those names, not really a lot to get excited about. You got Lipinets, who
yeah.
He deserves another chance, I must admit.
Aye.
If Jack Carter or Harry Davis, if that fight comes off, I'd like to see the winner of that going into it.
Well, at
There's-
least Carroll got me. I said to Jack Carroll last week, Jack, are you not feeling kind of frustrated with the opportunities you're getting here? So I think this tournament would be ideal for him.
Catterall's boxing
He's a
McKenna.
really, really good fighter, man. I'm telling
Tyrone
you.
McKenna.
He's boxing Tyrone McKenna on the Conlon card, and if that comes through, then I imagine they're going to put him in against O'Hara Davis to try and bulk up this Frampton card.
So he's not going to join it, then I take it.
I don't know. That's what I'm assuming. But I mean, I would love to see him in it. I can't see him joining it, to be honest with you.
But
if anybody in the chat knows the names, then throw them out.
This week, you talk about, is anybody want to see Flanagan again? I mean, for example,
Baranchik, Andy, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, he's the other one. You remember he beat Petrov, didn't he, on Showtime recently?
Well, him and you got ranked high with IBF. But what I was going to say is, you got Cattrall ranked 5th, I think, with WBO. Nobody's want to see Flanagan again. If they're going to put Cattrall in the tournament, Flanagan, Cattrall, there's a bit of rivalry there. There's a bit of history, sparring session stories. Natural fight to be made for Frank Warren, I would think.
Flanagan's going to have to go on the road now, I think. Tommy, question from Charlie BR28. He says, was Flanagan always a hype job and always shit, or did Hooker just fight the fight of his life? I think you've pretty much answered that, but go ahead anyway, Tom.
See, last night, he does all the basics, right? I just think he was at 140. He got the right fights at 140, very well matched. He went up there last night. I don't think he's not a lightweight. I mean, that guy was much bigger. I mean, he used his length well, and Flanagan couldn't deal with it. We know what Morris Hooker is. He is nowhere near a top fighter. A top fighter should have been dealing with him. I said on Twitter last week that if Flanagan lost a round against this guy, that he isn't cracked up to beat, and he lost the fight. You've got to say that he's never really been a top fighter. I always thought Andy Crow would have beat him at lightweight. I said that for a long time. I fancied Crow to beat him. Everybody was saying Flanagan this, Flanagan that. I've never been too high on him. I always thought Crow was a better fighter than him.
Okay, Richard Swig, final comment to him. He said, remember when Terry Flanagan could have had a unification fight on home soil 2 years ago? And here he is, now throwing his head in, against Morris Hooker. What a waste of a career it's been. That's what Richard Swig says anyway. Let's move on. Friday night, Diego De La Hoya won against Jose Salgado. He's maturing into quite a nice little fighter, Diego De La Hoya. He's 21-0, I think now, 7th round retirement. The judges were not needed. Don Ackerman, Glenn Feldman, and Don Trella. On an unrelated note, Donnie, are you back with us? 59 minutes in, everybody. Is Donnie here? It's like he's walked into
fucking casual.
He's walked into the wrong room or something.
I hope he's walked into fucking traffic, Stephen. Fucking died on the scene.
Somebody's turned the bathroom light off and they can't find his way out the bathroom. Fat bastard.
He probably fell in the stairs and cracked his fucking neck, maybe like Christopher Reeve at the minute or something like that,
He's probably Muff diving his bird anyway. He doesn't believe me.
No, he doesn't. He's like that guy out of Sopranos. What's his name? Tony Sopranos.
Junior. His uncle Junior.
He did like muff diving, just like Donnie.
Hi, man.
I don't know where Donnie is. He's maybe off watching 7 Year Anal. He's maybe lent it off Al Bernstein again.
7 Year Anal. Oh, my word.
Right. Bonnie's one of these cunts that'll be streaming on fucking Love Island or something in the room.
Last night, the much-awaited Duke Micah update, everybody. He's now the WBC International Bantamweight Champion, so watch out all you bantamweights. Maybe get him into the World Boxing Super Series. He's 22-0 now. Ghana's finest, Duke Micah. He outpointed Thomas Snow. He's promoted by Evander Holyfield. Would love to see this guy do well. War Duke. What else have we got on the schedule? Where should we go? Gabe, where should we go? You tell me next. Leo Santa Cruz or against Abner Mares, the rematch, or Terence Crawford against Jeff Horn? What do you want to do, Gabe? It's entirely in your hands.
Let's go with Mares Santa Cruz.
Yeah, let's do it. Come on. Go on, tell me about it then from your perspective. The big rematch everybody wanted to see. Did it live up to the hype? Two guys who can't really punch, just hitting each other like robots.
Shit, I'm still a firm hater for Leo Santa Cruz. I can't stand that guy. I was hoping Mars would just find somewhere to land a punch right on the chin and just cold cock him, leave him quivering in the middle of the ring. It didn't happen. It was actually a good show. I think whenever you get two guys like that together, it's going to be a good show because they use volume. They you know, they're not like knockout artists, but they don't punch like a feather fist that we all probably know and love on this podcast. But I do think
Tony Luis.
If you're listening, Tony,
not for much longer, he won't be.
Shit. So, they put on a good show. I mean, it was a good fight. I'll tell you the truth. I did enjoy watching the fight. It was a lot of punches thrown. There was some pretense of boxing ability in there somewhere. I think it was overall a good show. I think, though, at the end of the day, is you get a guy like Mares, who's a little bit older, and he's fighting at closer to his ceiling weight against a guy like Santa Cruz, who the size difference really gets me whenever I look at those two guys. There was times last night whenever I thought, Jesus Christ, I mean, how much is Santa Cruz walking around at? But I think, again, it wasn't anything Santa Cruz really did. He's not a better fighter, and even if I was, you know, being a fanboy of this guy, I still wouldn't probably say this. But he just uses what he had well, which was the reach and the height advantage last night. He was able to do that and keep Mares at bay. I think that's more of a mental decision that you make as a fighter to say, okay, this is what I've got. This is how I'm going to use it, as opposed to, you know, something that's teachable, something that's learnable, that people can do. He just made up his mind that he was going to use his natural attributes, and he did it. And like I said, thought it was a good fight. The fight was fine. It was a little bit disappointing for me again, though, because I wanted to see Santa Cruz get just completely iced out, starched, cold, no movement, carry him out on a stretcher kind of knockout. But good show, I thought. I don't know what everybody else did.
Yeah, we're going to come to everybody else now. I know that a few people have been interested in a possible Prince Patel update. Nothing really to report, but David Tarbuck did send me a message on Twitter. A certain Johnny Rashman is a Patel fan. He said, your profile, Prince, is nowhere near where it should be. Properly promoted, you could be up there with the biggest prospects in British boxing. Whoever has been managing and advising you, sack them, says Johnny Rashman, big Patel fan there. David Tarbuck was saying that Aussie has been bang on recently with his reporting. No Aussie this week. He's serving a ban. We'll hopefully get him back again next week if he decides to behave himself. Smido, did you see anything of Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares too?
No, did I? I'll tell you, Aussie shouldn't be serving a ban anyway. He tipped up an 8-1 winner over the week on Wednesday. So Aussie should be the lead contender tonight. Thoughts with Aussie in this difficult time.
Thanks, Smido. Yeah, hashtag pray for Aussie. Donny. No, Donny, everybody. Let's go to you, Andy. Regarding Santa Cruz Mares.
This is Donny. Guys, I'm here.
Are you going to do the impressions in the absence of hater Dave Loback?
What was your question?
Oh, Gabe, man, what am I going to do with you?
Sorry.
Andy, I'll come to you.
Yes.
Yes, the Mares fight. I didn't want to see the rematch. I want to see Santa Cruz move on now, and I want to see him fight Gary Russell Jr. Would you concur with that?
Aye, because again he's tested. Well, not so much tested, but he needs a fight. If he's going to sit in that title now for, you know, some of the names in those rankings are absolutely deplorable. He's never going to go to Belfast to honour a third fight against Frampton. Warrington's obviously on the fence. Valdez is out with a broken jaw. Russell's naturally the fight that you would expect him to make, but what will happen? I really don't know. I mean, Al Heyman can, you know, as you said, Steve, he's smart and he's evil at the same time. He could give us the fights that you want to see, then he throws a spanner in the works and fucks up a purse bid deliberately for some other reason. I really don't know, but yep, definitely get that fight made. I haven't seen Santa Cruz Mares because, as I told you before I started the show and stuff, that I refused to download a 20 gigabyte file because I didn't want to see the rematch. And the Charlo that beat Trout, I suspected the fight would went a distance, and it did. And again, he's probably the poorest out of the two Charlo brothers. So that aside, yep, Gary Russell, Leo Santa Cruz. I would say, unless Santa Cruz is going to come, which for what we're hearing, he's not going to come to Belfast in August. It's going to be Luke Jackson for Carroll Frampton by the looks of it. So Santa Cruz, Gary Russell, yep, get it made. But no, Gary Russell. Gary Russell's not going to fight again till this time next year. So let's not get diddy about it. Anything like that. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah, I can agree with that. One thing I will say, I know that I have been a Heyman detractor, and many of us are Heyman detractors, but I've seen the light, man. Al Heyman, I'll give him his due. The guy gets things done. You're talking Mayweather, Pacquiao, you're talking the big fights. Just look at this. I don't want to get dragged in the black hole because I know that we're unconscious that we're 10 past the hour and we're short on time, but look at the way Canelo and Golovkin situation's dragging on now, and Tom Loeffler is trying to come back to the table, with 50%, 55%, and it's not happening, and HBO aren't happy. Al Heyman gets the jobs done. He makes the fights, the big fights happen. I believe 9 times out of 10 when Heyman's involved. If he was involved in Canelo Triple G, they would be sorting this shit out right now because Al knows what he's doing. I'm team Heyman, man.
Guarantee you, if Heyman was involved with the Joshua Wilder talks, this fight would be fucking made. It would have been signed and sealed over the line. The simple fact is this: I know it keeps going on, but the fight, they were offered $50 million. That was the request. They made the offer. Eddie Hearn comes back. Oh, gentlemen, they're talking shit. They've got that money. Al Heyman's fucking washed. I want to see proof of funds. There's proof of funds. Oh no, but the fight, he's got to be willing to travel. He's got to come to the UK. He's got to fight at Wembley Stadium. No, what the Yanks are catching on to his fucking bullshit. And to be honest, the fact that his lack of signings still for this new deal is staggering. He still hasn't got a top name. He's asking Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the fake fighter. But it's just Adrian Bruner washed. Doesn't want to fucking fight.
Andy, I cannot believe that someone as experienced as Eddie, for all the shit that we give him and everything, came to the table, did the zone push him to make the announcement ahead of time. I cannot believe that he did not sit there that day and say, right, we're making this announcement, $1 billion, 8 years, blah, blah, blah. These are the 3 fighters we've signed, 3 marquee names, and these are the first 2 fights we're going to put on in September or whatever. That's what Heyman did whenever the PBC came to fruition. Wasn't it a Broner fight or something that he put on? He had everything all signed up and all in place. I cannot for the life of me believe that Eddie is now running around, with his balls in his hand and all this money burning a hole in his pocket, trying to negotiate with people. Didn't he try to sign? No, he didn't try to sign Gervonta Davis, but he went to Floyd apparently last week or something and said, "Oh, we'll get you paid. Get paid with me." And Gervonta Davis turned around and said, "No, I'm not." People are turning him down. He's not used to being turned down, Eddie. And I cannot believe that he has come into this with such an experience. Unless I'm reading the situation wrong. I mean, what do you think?
I agree with you because I didn't really know about the Gervonta Davis story, but I knew about the fact that he was bidding for Chavez Jr. AB, always bollocks, turning him down as well. I really don't know if it's it can't be loyal. It's got to be the contract they've got with Al Heyman. There's got to be something internally we just simply do not know, and that Eddie Hearn doesn't know. Heyman clearly looks after his fighters behind the scenes. He must be investing their money. That money must be coming back to him. Fucking Leo Santa Cruz, his son, I believe, is the godson to Al Heyman, for example, or he was named after him, or Peter Quillen's named his son after Al Heyman. I forget what something.
It was Leo Santa Cruz named him after Heyman. Yeah,
that speaks volumes. If you're to name your son after someone like that, who gets derided and derived of fucking people who, like Steve Kim, for example, he hates his guts, derides him constantly. Yet you got guys like Leo Santa Cruz naming his absolute son after him. There's something we just do not know behind the scenes here. It's clearly these guys.
He looks after people. It's
clearly, it's going to be. It's like MTK, for example. They look after their fighters. You will not see an MTK-related fighter absolutely, take shit or umbrage against them. So it's clearly that he looks after them. He looks after the money properly. He's got it invested for them, and it's clearly on the outside. We didn't know how much these guys are making because I seen Stephen Espinosa when Hearn made the offer to Broner. What was it again? Was it $2.5 million per fight for 3 fights? I think it was $6.5 million. And Stephen Espinosa came back by tweet and stated that Eddie Hearn still does not believe or understand how much Adrian Broner makes off fights. So that to me suggests that he's getting a flat fee plus image rights and whatever's going on in the background there, investment properties. I really do not know, but
the tax man might be after. That was an interesting comment from Espinosa. I thought maybe naive. I don't know. I'm not
sure, but the Charlos, they're not jumping ship. Fucking Wilder, he's staying true to his to Heyman. Broner staying there. Floyd Mayweather's obviously, he always credited Al Heyman. That guy's making hundreds of $1 million pound pay deals. It's just unbelievable. So Hearn's clearly underestimated as to how much washed Heyman actually is. Maybe I could be talking bullshit. I really do not know because I'm just speculating.
Yeah, no, Patrick has said in the chat, Heyman's finished. He ain't finished, Patrick. Maybe in this current incarnation with his current Waddell and Reed money, he might be finished, but he ain't finished whatsoever. Quick trivia question, very quickly, everybody. Whenever Heyman first moved over from the music business into the boxing business, does anybody know who the first fighter ever was that he signed up in boxing? American fighter, now deceased. Once fought Sugar Shane Mosley, now deceased.
Hank London?
No.
Vernon Forrest.
That was the first fighter Al Heyman ever signed in boxing, Vernon Forrest. Yeah.
Must have signed Floyd pretty early as well, didn't they?
I nearly said Gatty.
Who was the heavyweight that apparently went blind and they rejected him? What was his name?
Lamont Brewster, was he?
That's the one. Do
you know who? Interesting side note. Do you know who managed Lamont Brewster once? I can't remember. Who's the guy's name? It was someone to do with The Simpsons. The TV show. One of the writers, I think it was, of The Simpsons, actually managed Lamont Brewster. Look it up on Wikipedia. There's some truth in there somewhere.
If it's a poo, that's the guy who was in Ray Donovan. That was I forget his fucking name, but I know the guy for True Crime. He's into fighters. Oh, what's his fucking name? He's with Owen Wilson and that. Party Crashers film. What's his fucking name?
I don't know.
Vince Vaughn.
Here we are. Who?
Vince Vaughn.
That's it. Reese Vaughn.
No, Wikipedia, at one point in his career, Brewster was managed by The Simpsons co-creator, professional poker player Sam Simon. And he left Simon to sign with manager Al Heyman. So there you go, everybody. There's some bullshit for you on a Sunday night. We're going to have to move on, otherwise we're going to be here all night. Rob Kelly, we're going to take a break from the Leo Santa Cruz-Mares fight to come to you on Tyson Fury, but I'm going to come to you with a question that was sent to me earlier from Brutus the Great. He has a scenario, so think about the scenario, Rob. Am I mad to think that the following might come off over the next year? Deontay Wilder beats AJ, Tyson Fury beats Wilder, AJ beats Fury. You don't have to take that right down to its nuts, but tell me about the round robin between those guys, Rob, and particularly Fury's return last night.
Well, before we get into that, come on.
You could have done the ring walk, really, Rob.
Yeah, props to Tyson Fury for one of the greatest ring walks of all time last night. Started off with a bit of Eminem, Guess Who's Back, into LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out, into a dub-plate version of Afro Man's Because I Got High with custom made lyrics for the occasion. I was going to get in the ring, but then I got high. And then into Mark Morrison. It's a pity Mark Morrison didn't make an appearance last night because he probably would have put more energy into his performance than Tyson Fury's opponent. I'm the biggest Tyson fan in the world, man. I had a grin ear to ear when he was walking to the ring last night. But when Hay came back for 3 years and he fought Absolute Dross, we gave it to him. So I know it's probably not his fault. It's Frank's decision. And he said he didn't want this opponent, but this opponent was nothing like. The opponent's not even going to give him rounds. He didn't fight for the first 2 rounds. He's looking outside the ring, dancing around the place. He didn't throw a punch in the first round, so he didn't really get to work until the 3rd or 4th round. And when he got to work, the fight's over. So it does nothing for him really, other than get him back in the public eye spotlight. He is the people's champion. I think he showed that last night. People really do root for Tyson Fury, love him or hate him. Boxing fans love him, and the public are warming to him. And he is a likable guy. And we need him back, but we need him back against something better than this, You know what I mean? It's just not. I'm not saying he goes in against the top 10 guy and shows he's a killer after 3 years out of the ring, because 3 years out of the ring is 3 years out of the ring. And it's not like he was out training or whatever. He was waiting for his license back. he was obese, like, you know what I mean? So he's faced the battle just to lose the weight. And Tyson Fury is the furthest thing from dumb that you're gonna see. You know, he may play dumb sometimes, but he's far from dumb, and he knows he needs rounds and he knows he needs fights before he takes a top fight. So flashes of what he's capable of there, what we've been seeing him doing on the pads. His hands seem fast still. I would worry early doors I'd be on the because I want Fury to do well. Like, I call him winning a world title early. Like, I really want him to do well. I would love that situation between him and Peter Fury to be worked out, because no shots at Ben Davison. He might turn out to be Eddie Futch. I don't know. But that Ricky Hatton and Ben Davison in the corner, I would have been like, hold on, Tyson, don't look outside the ring, man, when they're having a fight, because you nearly got clipped. If it was a bigger guy, you'd be on your ass. Like, and things like that he's done earlier in his career. You know, when Peter wasn't there against Cunningham, he switches off. He switches off for whatever reason. He switches off sometimes in the ring. And I don't want to see that going forward. I want to see Tyson Fury back where he belongs, unified heavyweight champion of the world. So I worry about that. I don't know if I answered the guy's question. Tyson probably beats either of them. I think Wilder's capable of beating Joshua with his awkward style. I think a lot of people on this side of the pond think that that's an easy fight for AJ. I don't. I think that Wilder could easily get on a jab with AJ in that fight, and you know, we know about his power, and we know about that AJ can be hit as well. So I would favour maybe Wilder in that fight, and I favour Tyson Fury if he's fit and he looks sharp. We'll see how he progresses against both of them. So,
Rob, we were talking earlier about Flanagan Hooker trying to come to some kind of conclusions. Casual and Proud came to a conclusion. He said Flanagan doesn't hit hard enough at the weight. Love him or loathe him, Eddie Hearn would have made Terry a fortune by now. Any thoughts? I don't think that Hearn would have made Terry a fortune per se.
Great to make a fortune for him, man, to be honest with you.
Yeah, what do you think about the fight in particular last night?
Yeah, I think credit to Hooker, and I was surprised they gave him the decision, to be honest with you, even though I had him, as I said in the chat, I had him a couple of rounds up. Like, I had him maybe 3 rounds up, maybe 4. Thought he you call him a languid slickster from the 80s last night in the chat, and I think it was a perfect description of him.
That was good, wasn't it, for me for once?
Yeah, pretty good. Like, he looked like he had like Marlon Starling legs or something there for a while. Like, but
yeah, like Mark Breland or something.
Mark Breland, yeah, with the long style and everything. No, I thought, yeah, like Breland was excellent. Like, it was definitely a level above him, but he had that nice style, like, where he was keeping him at range. He didn't really have to do much. Like, Flanagan didn't trouble him on the inside. The only thing is, I couldn't have made a case for Terry Flanagan winning that fight last night. Could not have made a case for him winning it on ring generalship, effective aggression, you know, clean punches landed. He's behind in all of them. Like, so he didn't deserve to win the fight. The right man won. And I'd be interested to see that guy out again. He was, I know he had a tight decision with Dallas Perez, didn't he? And they said that he had a burst eardrum or something in that fight. So he looked good last night. Like, Flanagan's no mum. Don't get me wrong, I'm not writing Flanagan off, like, but he was there for him last night, there to be hit, didn't move his head, didn't cop onto the right hand early enough, didn't kind of go to the body. I suppose he couldn't get to the body because Hooker was keeping him at distance. But Hooker's like as good as he fought last night. He's no great shakes. Like, he was jabbing to the head for the whole night. He didn't switch it up and down at all. Like, no hooks from him really. So just straight punches, and he won the fight like that. And Flanagan couldn't figure him out. Like, so. I don't know if Eddie would have made that guy a fortune, man. You'd have to really Eddie would have had to really have him involved in some kind of serious beef. Maybe with O'Hara Davis or something at 140 if O'Hara had progressed. Like, could not see him making him that much more money than Frank has. Like, I thought Frank's done well with him, actually. And you know, he's still in a close fight last night to win his world title at a second weight. Like, it wasn't like he was disgraced or anything. I just thought it was a clear win for Hooker. Like,
just quickly as well, Rob, we mentioned Marlon Starling, Mark Breland. I raise you, New York's finest, often forgotten about fighter now, Aaron Superman Davis. Remember him?
I do, indeed. He knocked out Mark Breland with a left hook in the 11th round. Or something like that. Fantastic prospect. I don't know what became of Aaron Davis. All Hooker was missing was the sequin shorts from the 80s last night. Pair of red sequin shots, like
Lou Duver, who needed Lou Duver in the corner.
Lou Duver in the corner as well. Yeah, good shout. But other than that, yeah, I saw obviously Crawford as well. We covered Crawford yet, or no? I'm taking me out. Yeah.
No, not yet. We'll come to you on Crawford soon. I'm going to go to Smido on Crawford in a minute, so hold fire on that, Robert.
No worries, guys.
Good stuff. Stick with us. If you're in the chat, hit the thumbs up. Go on. You know you want to. Tell YouTube that you love us. Smido's already gone and done it. He does it every weekend as soon as we put the link up. Right, Smido. Let's get on to Crawford, shall we? We've had a question in from Babs_SP. He said, after seeing how Crawford looked at the weight in terms of physical strength, does that change the way you view a potential Spence super fight down the line? So looking at Crawford last night against Horn, discuss that if you wish. And then tell me about this potential Errol Spence Jr. super fight, Smido.
I can't really tell you much about Spence and Crawford. It's far too good of a fight for my analysis and my casual brain. I said similar to Ward and Kovalev. It's just one of them that I think everyone wants to see. And I think it's one of them that we quite possibly will see. In this day and age where we often don't get to see the best fights and we've almost become accustomed to that happening. I think this is a fight that we can see happening. I think Crawford's absolutely fantastic. I thought that for quite a long time. I do agree with you, Steve. I think you said it last week that he has dominated in 3 divisions. I think I'm right in saying, Andy will correct me if I'm wrong, he's been the lineal champ at all 3. And he's been clearing up left, right and centre. But his resume in terms of big names is not quite up to scratch with some other resumes in the sport at the moment. And that's
Smido, I had beef with somebody on YouTube about this today. I was arguing with Crawford's resume, as you just mentioned, in relation to Lomachenko's.
Yeah.
I do believe Lomachenko's is stronger. I'm not trying to detract from Crawford's achievements by saying that. I just think man against man, I do believe that.
At the moment, and there's nothing to say why Crawford, given the attitude he's got with, taking up different challenges in terms of opposition and weights, that Crawford can't get to that point in the near future. The best thing that I like about Crawford is killer instinct, and there's not many fighters around nowadays that have got the same killer instinct.
He's a nasty bastard, isn't he?
He's an excellent finisher, and he throws virtually every punch with bad intentions. Because he's so gifted in both stances, his jabs from whichever stance he's throwing it from are power punches to Crawford and do damage. And that's why I just think he's excellent to watch. He's, like I say, he's got a real killer instinct. He can take a few as well. He did take some off Horn last night. Horn is a bit unorthodox in some of his approaches to his attacks. We knew that anyway. So he took a couple of digs last night as well, Crawford. And yeah, they made an observation on the top rank feed what I was watching on Box Nation. So I'm not claiming credit or originality, but you can tell he's going in for the kill when he switches to orthodox. And I think that was in the 8th or 9th round. He did that. And obviously it came shortly after that. In regards to a Spence fight, I don't think there's many barriers to that happening. I might be wrong there. I think that would just be absolutely superb. I think Crawford definitely will fill out and fit the weight pretty well. And he looked plenty big enough last night. And Jeff Horn is a bit of a lump. Obviously, he had troubles with the scales on Friday himself. But yeah, Crawford, just keep him going. I think he's absolutely superb, and I'll watch him every time he fights.
See, when you watch him, you don't know if he's actually an orthodox fighter or a southpaw. I know he is an orthodox fighter because I've watched him for a long time, but
yeah,
you can't tell. I've never seen him lose a round as a southpaw.
Yeah, I think in more recent times, Tommy, particularly to my eye, I might be wrong, but if you watched it last night, for example, he appears to be predominantly a southpaw and boxes predominantly a southpaw. Yeah. But absolutely, we know he can do both. He doesn't switch as often as he used to do.
Yeah, first fight I really seen him doing the whole fight was just that Felix Diaz, and he just took him to bits.
Yeah, he did that, and like I said, it's just that killer instinct. You can feel it, and it's what you look for when you're having a bet, like me, because there's a lot of these fighters that will take control and they'll put rounds in the bag and then they'll go safety first and get the win. There's not a problem with that professionally because that gets the job done. But Crawford, there ain't many killers out there, and he's definitely one of them.
Tommy, 2 things I noticed. First of all, Crawford's levers, real good long reach. And even though Jeff Horn was the bigger man, Crawford was the stronger man. I mean, I said last week that due to his size and his work rate, Horn might be more competitive. But right from the early seconds last night, he was just lumbering forward into range. Like I said in the chat, he was like a big slow white guy. I mean, just head first, taking an age to get off. That's simply just not good enough against someone of Crawford's calibre and his accuracy. Horn just didn't have enough.
That's right. Tim Bradley, I thought Tim Bradley made a good point last night when he compared it to the Hart and Mayweather fight at points. Just when Ricky lost his head, he looked absolutely clueless, and that's what Jeff Horn was like last night. Terence was just controlling the distance, and it was just popping him with that. Every time he walked in, he just popped him in the left hand. He was going nice to the body. It was just too quick, just too good. Horn looked absolutely clueless. I've never rated Horn as a fighter. I know a few in here will disagree. I thought Pacquiao will beat him. I thought that was a bad decision, but there was just different levels. I was actually shocked last week that there was actually so many people picking Horn, because I've seen a good few people picking Horn to win that fight. But
really,
on Twitter, I've retweeted. I was retweeting him the other day, man. There's a few guys out there likes, but oh man, I had Loma as my pound for pound king the other day. I'm maybe hate to rethink that again now with Terence Crawford. Whenever I watch Crawford, I'll hate him as pound for pound king, and then I watch Lomachenko, I'll hate him as pound for pound king. I think the two of them right now they're far and away above everybody in the world, and I'll include Triple G and Canelo in that. These two, for me, they've by far separated themselves since Andre Ward left the sport. Unbelievable talents.
100% agree with that, Tommy.
Yeah, I think, like as I said before, I mean, Horn's style was just made to order. It became instantly apparent straight away. He was just so telegraphed. I mean, there's no other way I can put it. He was square on, leaning forward. This is a guy who's supposed to be fighting at world level. He was his head was on a stick. He was inviting Crawford to whack it. The bad habits he was displaying were just shocking. And I praised his trainer last week, but I know the trainer. I saw an interview with him today, and he was coming up with excuses about apparently Horn bought the wrong shoes and he had blisters from running and all. I mean, it's bullshit. The problem was Terence Crawford was in the opposite corner, and that's all it was. Gabe, I'm going to come to you on this one now. What I want to see now from Bob Arum is different styles for Crawford. This might sound like a strange thing to say, given that he's beating world champions, he's collecting belts, and he's unifying divisions. But I want to see Crawford's talent tested now, like Gamboa did to a certain extent. You know, a fast, skillful opponent. See how he deals with that rather than against these tall, slow plodders. You know, I mentioned obviously Horn last night, Postol, Indongo. Crawford eats those guys up time and time again. Horn's qualities are made to order, Gabe, for someone like Crawford. He's levels above that style. I want to see different styles now, Gabe. The likes of a Spence Jr., people like that.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money. I think what we see with him is similar to what we see with Lomachenko in regards to the fact that he's so damn good that whenever he's fighting guys at a weight that are good, he just looks that much better than them because he's so good. So whether it's I think in Lomachenko, I said this before he fought Linares, the only challenge he's going to have is if he continues to move up in weight. Now, I think 147, depending on how fast those big fights come, will determine how well he does to some extent. Because I think if he jumps, excuse me, I'm sorry, if he goes right into a fight with Spence, then it should be a hell of a show. But if he stays around 147 for a little while, then I think he has more time to adjust to the weight and everything. Not that he looked like he needed it after last night, but then I think it maybe becomes even more of a
You still there, Gabe?
Gabe died.
Gabe's gone into the same vortex as Donny.
There's definitely a lot of interesting fights out there at 147 for him, isn't there? There's obviously Spain. That's a fight that we all want to see. That's going to be built up. Keith Furman, get him back. Keith Furman's a good fighter as well. My man Amir Khan will show us something different. I'm not saying that Khan will beat him, but it is a style that I'd like to see. I'd like to see Terence Syndrome. I think a great fight.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
speed. There's some good fights in there. I say when he was at 140, there's 135, 140. Nobody will touch on there. Always says he'll be tasted when he goes to 147, and we seen him last night against Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn never tasted him. I don't think he was ever a test for him. We need to see turns against some of the more elite guys. I'm not talking about your Sean Porters or that either, or guys like that. Easy fight for Terence Crawford. But
like Danny Garcia, there's no point in that fight.
There's no point in that fight. He's tailor-made. He's tailor-made for Crawford the same way as I with Porter. You want to see him in the guys with speed, guys with power, guys who can box. You know, let's see these fights. That Spain's fight, that's probably the best fight. That's the best fight that can be made in boxing right now for me. Unbelievable. Right next to Mickey Garcia and Lomachenko. That's the two fights I want to see over anything else.
Yep, well said. Tommy's calling for the big fights. Rob Kelly's on with us as well. Gabe, Andy, Donny in name, just about, and also Adam Smitho-Smith. Thank you, everybody, for continuing to listen. Gabe's back with us. Before we go to Andy, did you finish off, Gabe, what you were trying to say?
Yeah, I'll just finish up real quick. What I was getting at was that I think Crawford's talent level is so high and his abilities are so good that it makes it hard to watch with a guy that's decent level. He's going to have to fight the absolute best guys at every weight that he's at until he moves up to a point where the weight becomes an issue and the size becomes an issue. Like we've seen with Lomachenko, he's fought guys that are the tops in the weight classes around him, but it wasn't until he moved up to fight Linares when he got to a fight that was actually really challenging. And you got to give Linares credit because Linares is a great fighter, but I think part of the other side of the coin is the size then starts playing a role in it. So 147, I don't think is where he stops at. I think he goes all the way to 154. 160 may be a step too far. Of course, I'm looking way into the future with these comments. So we'll keep an eye on that as he goes along. But I think it's great to see a guy that wants those challenges. I think the Spence fight is a great fight. And, I'll probably live to regret my words here. But, all you guys have known I'm a big Spence fan since before he turned pro. I think from what I've seen with him lately is that this Spence that we see right now is the best that he's going to be. Like, I don't see him progressing a lot. He does what he does, and he does it well, but he doesn't show shades of any other styles. He doesn't show shades of any other things that he can do. Now, whether that's because he hasn't had to or because he doesn't need to or because he can't yet is completely in the air. But I think a guy like Crawford pushes the best out of guys like that.
Thanks, Gabe. Right, joining us on the call. I think we've finally got the main man, Jason Chukwu. Can you hear me, Jason? You there, Jason?
Hello.
Oh, I just heard about something faint there. We've been trying to get Jason on for the last few weeks. Haven't quite managed it. He seems to be on the call now with us, though. Can you hear me, Jason?
Turn your mic up.
Yeah. What's the topic?
Yeah. Oh, what's the topic indeed? We're talking Terence Crawford against Jeff Horn. What's your opinions on that one?
Oh, yeah. I had that in my accumulator, but I fell asleep.
Right, go ahead. What did you think of the fight, Jason?
Yeah, we're everyone stop Paul Pacquiao beat Horn anyway, so is what it is.
You broke up a
Jason, you broke up fucking downers, man. What the fuck?
You broke up a little bit there, Jason. I believe that you were saying that you thought Pacquiao had beaten Horn anyway. Are you in agreement with me that these slow, flat-footed plodders are no more use for Crawford? He has to fight, fast guys who can give him different problems. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would, but at the same time, Crawford is very skilled though. Like Smedo was saying, he does have that killer instinct though. But like he needs to step up though. But he's just taking guys out. But it is what it is, man.
Well, yeah, who do you want to see him in next against? Tommy's mentioned the likes of Amir Khan. We're talking Spencer, Thurman. There's obviously political issues there.
He can't fight. He's got to fight.
Who?
He's got to fight Spencer Thurman next Crawford.
But if those fights can't be made, would you be happy with the likes of a Porter or a Garcia? We wouldn't be happy with that.
No. Porter would be a decent test. It would be better testing than Horn. So.
Yeah. What about my assertion that Crawford's resume, despite all his talent and ability, doesn't match up against the likes of Lomachenko? Would you agree or disagree?
No, it's true. But at the same time, Postal was a good win. I personally, I picked Postal to win that, but I got that wrong. I have to admit that. Gamboa, even though Gamboa was older at the time, I thought that was a decent win as well. Even though it was coming up in weight, it's just I don't know really. Man.
Doesn't compare with the Gary Russell win, though, in my opinion, or Jorge Linares win. I mean, if you're stacking them up name for name, really.
Have you talked about that matchroom card yet?
Which one?
The one that happened on Wednesday.
Aquili.
No, we haven't spoken about that, but you can talk about that now if you want.
No, I've got to the Belly of the Week. Like, Belly of the Week's got to go to Adam Smith because he said how Tony Simmons is one of the best trainers in the country. I don't understand that. Yeah,
but you know what Adam Smith's like. I'm not talking about Smido either. You know, Adam Smith's terrible on Sky, isn't he?
I know. Like, we need to bring back Hawley and what?
Yeah, well, that's pretty desperate. Go on, then tell me about Okoli against Watkins. Is Okoli the real deal?
I don't think he's the real deal, but this is the best that I've seen him in so far, though. Like, I know you lot and the guys are high up on Matty Askin, but to me, I don't see Matty Askin. He's just British level, though. You know, the same. Didn't he get smoked by Glowacki?
By who? Glowacki?
Yeah.
Nah, I think Matty Askin, to be honest, might be European level. I think we spoke about this before. He's one of these type of guys who has had to come through it the hard way, and with experience, I think he's matured as a fighter, and he's a lot better now for those losses. Do you not agree?
No, he's been true. He's been pro for like 10 years. I understand.
Yeah.
That, so.
Come on, Jason. Your assholes went. Fucking say what you want to say. Come on.
What?
Speak your fucking truth. You're fucking chatting like shit on the chat, man.
Come on,
fucking
mate.
bring it. Come on.
Stevenson's fucking still ducking Kovalev.
Fucking bring it. Come on, man.
Okay.
Jason, don't let him do that to you, man.
Bitches like Kevin Spacey. That's what we're talking about.
Whoa,
Kevin Spacey, the fucking dog on the toilet is like, right. Come on, man. Bring it.
Come on, Jason, have a rant. There's got to be. We know you love coming on here with us. Tell us what do you really think.
Okay,
let it rip.
Let's talk about Frank Warren, that shit show yesterday.
Go on, then. You tell us about it, then.
Every Frank Warren show, why is there a fight going on in the crowd? Like, what's going on with the security?
It's more entertaining than in the ring, man.
Exactly, it's a fucking joke.
Yeah, well, it's because the clientele. That's all we can say, really, isn't it?
Manchester, Liverpool, Glasgow, guaranteed fights in the crowd.
This is essential listening. This, by the way.
Doesn't matter who's promoting.
Would you go to a Frank show, Jason? Say if you won a competition, right, and you had a couple of tickets for you and the bird, would you go? Would you take your missus to a show, Frank show, and feel safe? No.
Absolutely not. I don't want to die.
I'd take her up my arse, right? Probably.
What about Fury then, Jason? Just wrapping it up. What about Tyson Fury? I mean, where does he fit into the landscape alongside the likes of Joshua and Wilder and so on?
I said Fury beats Joshua in my opinion. So
Fury?
I think he beats Joshua, let alone Tyson. So
that confirms, Jason, you're no racist, by the way.
Well, of course, I'm not Spencer Fearon. I don't know why everyone thinks. just because I like Adonis Stevenson, I'm not like just picking black fighters just randomly all the time. Like,
no, I can confirm, Jason, that you did pick Postal to beat Crawford, so you take L's along with the rest of us.
On the podcast bar, Rob Kelly picked Brown over White.
I picked Khan over Canelo, man. I'm the worst picker on here.
I picked Lucas Brown.
Who picked Warrington against Shelby? Suck my tall, bitches.
I picked Brown over White, but you were in the chat a second ago saying Thurman would beat Crawford.
I picked Carl Frampton to beat Scott Quick by split decision.
Anything else, Jason, before we move on?
Jason, you've been top quality.
Adonis Stevenson. What a
Jason,
hurry,
come on, Jason. We need to get Harry and Callum back on. So, is there anything else you want to say?
No.
Adonis Stevenson. Listen, Jason, didn't go back to that chat, mate. They are absolutely crucifying you for this call.
Jason, you're welcome back anytime. We love you. Or you can go on. Porky Russ has a space on his channel if you want to go over on there. He's left the chat. Oh, thanks, Jason. That was well worth the wait. That was well worth the weeks.
That weed must be strong, eh?
Right, where were we before this? Andy, let's go to you on Crawford-Horn. We need to start wrapping up soon because we haven't even gone on to the previews yet. Crawford, we said earlier, he has that nastiness, that edge about him. He's like that Mayweather drive. You need that to get you to the top, and you need that nastiness and that edge to keep you there as well. I just want to see names on his record, that's all. True challenges, true opponents, because this guy, I think he has the tools. We just need to see the names now, Andy.
I agree with what Tommy was saying. Is he just doesn't know what his best stance is. You know, he's just so fluid in both stances. What I would say is a south when he goes southpaw, he tends to square up a little bit. But I just think he prefers like the jab with his best hand, jab with his right hand, which is probably his strongest. Break him down, and then when he goes for the knockout, switches stance to the orthodox again, and then goes for it. I agree with what the guys are saying. He has got the dog in him. If he decides he's going to go for it, he steps in. He treated, one thing I mentioned last week about Jeff Horn was the size on the inside. Would it be a big difference? It mattered not a fucking jot last night. Crawford tossed him about there like a used condom, spun him, just backed him up, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was so good. The fact is that I felt like Horn's corner was given the right instructions, but he just wasn't. He wasn't implementing that. He was stepping in, no jab, throwing wild hooks, wild right hands, and Crawford was catching him in the southpaw stance with the right hook, straight left hands, picked him apart, and in the end, just absolutely dominated him. To be honest, I thought Crawford might have won it on points, but as the fight got closer, everybody was kind of going in on the stoppage. So great performance by Crawford there last night. As I say on Twitter earlier on this morning, there is no other fight at welterweight at the minute that makes any sense to anybody else than Terence Crawford against Errol Spence. Pacquiao, Matisse is obviously fighting. Vargas isn't as an afterthought. Porter Garcia, I think, are fighting. Kavanauskas, the Lithuanian. There's a lot of other decent fighters. Amir Khan, Jose Benavidez. There's some decent fighters kind of floating about, shall we say, at welterweight, but it's very, very thin. And the only fight that matters, I don't give a fuck how it gets made. If you've got to bribe, if you've got to pay brown envelopes, if you've got to bend over somebody to penetrate them, I don't give a shit. The only fight that matters right now in boxing at 147 is Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. Get it made. I don't care how it gets made, just get it made, because, again, you've got guys who are close to their peak. Spence is probably maxing out at the minute now at 147. He's going to have to move weight at some point. I like to see Crawford stay at 147 in the future, dominate it, clear it up again like he did at 140, and then take it from there. But somebody asked me, I think it might be Danny Young actually asked me, 50, for this fight, Spence Crawford, who do I fancy? It's 50-50 at the minute. It really is. I would probably slightly shade it to Crawford purely because he can mix it up a little bit differently. Spence, I think he kind of needs to warm into a fight, grow into it. If you do that with Crawford, I think he might be at that point maybe too far in front. I really don't know. It's still a 50-50 fight, but that fight is the only fight at 147 that has to and must be made next.
Yeah, big conversation in the chat. Who was the best caller tonight, Donny or Jason? So we're trying to work out that at the moment. We're only joking. We're only joking, Jason. We love you, really. We know Jason's a stalwart. He's there every week. Excuse me. Just before we go on to Charlo, Trout, and then finish up, Tommy, I got sent this message earlier, excuse me, from Josh Hussey. Apparently there's someone on Twitter called Fantasy Boxing at Boxing Polls, and he's constantly getting hounded by people. He said there's so many negative people on Twitter. AJ is fast becoming the greatest boxer ever. People that fall in life hate seeing others succeed. Anthony may have sold drugs, but he turned his life around. He's now the greatest heavyweight in the world. If you can't respect that, blah, blah, blah. But this is the interesting part, Tommy, for you. Apparently, Fantasy Boxing was getting some grief. He said, I'm fed up of all these trolls. Literally, every time I log in here, I have 40+ abusive messages. I am now going to give it some back. A Scottish guy DM'd me saying he would rape my dog. What is wrong with these people? Twitter is a sick world. And Josh Hussey suspects, Tommy, was this you?
Was that Brian? No, that's Brian King.
He suspects it's me.
He suspects it's you, Tommy.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man. That's not my style, man.
That's got to be Brian King.
That's got to be Brian, isn't it? No, that's not.
I thought of Brian as well because he's sort of well up on the sort of dog sex scene, but
that's right up his street. I didn't even know who this fucking boxing polls guy is, man.
At boxing polls. There you go. It wasn't Tommy, everybody. It wasn't Tommy. But Tommy, I know you have to disappear soon. Thank you for coming back on. We do love and appreciate you. How can we follow you on Twitter, Tommy?
At Asylum Tommy.
At Asylum Tommy. Thanks, Tom. So you disappear
for the next few weeks, yeah, I'll probably be banned.
Tommy's going to get banned soon. Get following him. Get on the bandwagon right now. Rob, I haven't forgotten about you. Thanks, Tommy. Regarding Crawford-HORN, you say 2 pence worth, Rob.
Yeah, no, just kind of, I suppose I'm echoing the panel sentiments on Crawford, but we're all high on Crawford. He was actually my number 1 on the pound for pound this last year. Oh, sorry, number 2 behind Ward, but then when Ward retired, that actually makes him number 1. Absolutely fantastic fighter. Like, he could be the best at switching from southpaw to orthodox ever, maybe, but definitely the best since Marvin Hagler. Like, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Toyed with Jeff Horn, like, toyed with, as Andy said, threw him around the place, ragdolled him completely. And one of the things I love about Crawford, like, is if you get rough with him, he's gonna get rough right back with you. Don't annoy him. Like, he'll fight clean. Like, but if you headbutt him, if you hit him low, he'll hit you low and he'll headbutt you as well. And you gotta love that about him. Like, boys are covered it, mean finisher. Like, and as far as I'm concerned, those two, it just goes to show you, Aram is like, he reminds you, and I don't mean this analogy to sound disrespectful, but you know the way they say cockroaches can survive a nuclear holocaust? Like, Bob Arum has outlasted them all. Like, and he's there today in 2018, and he, like, 80-something years of age, with the 2 best fighters, pound for pound fighters in the world, on ESPN deals, like, with the whole country of the US watching them. Like, so you got to give a bit of credit to Arum there for that. Like, as far as resumes, I'd say they're fairly similar. Like, I mean, you know, there's your Jason Sosas and your Mariagas on Lomachenko's record too. Like, I'd say the Gary Russell win is big, obviously, and the amount of fights, and then a Linares one really stamps his mark. But it's the 2 of them. It's hard to separate them as the head of the pound for pound. So it's a great time to be around to see the 2 of them. I've said before, I think Spence is a little bit big for Crawford. Like, I love the 2 of those fighters. I have my suspicions about Spence. I'm not going to mask it. I think in time, maybe or maybe not, but we may find out more about Errol Spence. But I think Showtime just released footage of him and Charlo sparring. Like, so he's a big dude. Like, he could probably campaign at middleweight. Crawford has moved up already. Looks like a natural 147 fighter. He looks strong as an ox. I don't know. I think at the moment, as much as I'd put Crawford at number 1 or number 2 pound for pound list, I'd still slightly favour Spence to beat him. Like, you know, he punches very, very hard. Like, but maybe it's a fight. It's a fight we all want to see anyway. Absolutely. But I hope that the reign of Terence Crawford is a long one, and I hope he's around for a long time. We get to enjoy more and more fights with him. You know, he's a style that doesn't appeal to everybody, but you know what? Fuck them. Like, if you can't appreciate Terence Crawford, don't watch boxing then. Watch something else, like, because he's not flashy, he's not flamboyant, but my God, he's got control of distance, he's got every punch in his armory, he's got defense, he's got dirty fighting, he's got killer instinct, he's got everything, like, apart from personality, but we work on that. Yeah, so long reign Terence Crawford.
Don't forget, everybody, to buy your tickets. Coming soon, an evening with Donny, Jason Chuckrew and Terry Flanagan. It's bound to be an absolute belter. Get your tickets now, everybody. Ticketmaster.co.uk. Andy, I'm coming to you on Lawrence Okoli against Watkins very shortly. Hold fire on that. Smido, I'm coming to you on White Parker pay-per-views. You hold fire on that too. Before we do so, Gabe, let's talk a little bit of Jamel Charlo against Austin Trout. Another fighter who has a little bit of devilment about him is this Charlo. Trout, to be honest, last night, he's just like an active survivor now. Charlo had absolutely nothing to stop him from coming in. No power shots, no combinations. He could pretty much do what he wanted for most of the rounds. Trout, when he put his foot down, he did okay, especially with the right hook. But can you beat Charlo with inactivity? I don't think you can. You have to be busy. Busy fighters with a bit of power, Gabe, could trouble Charlo because he's a lot more economical with his output. He doesn't throw a lot of shots. Having said that, I couldn't see the likes of Brook beating a Charlo. I really couldn't. How do you beat Charlo, and why couldn't Austin Trout do the business last night, Gabe?
Well, I think it's exactly why you said, because he was inactive for far too much of the fight. He, like you said, looked to be in survival mode. He's never had power. He's never had, the ability to keep guys back because he doesn't throw enough to ever keep someone back, but his power is just not there. Trout's a good fighter. He's not a bad fighter. He's a good fighter, but he just lacks the intangibles to be top of the line. And I don't think he's well schooled because he's so awkward that it makes the fights kind of hard to watch sometimes. So you see that with Austin Trout. His last time out, whenever he fought Gigantor, Hurd.
Jarrett Hurd.
Yeah, Jarrett Hurd. He was in a good fight, but it's because Hurd was making him fight. And then he saw the openings, so he took more opportunities that were presented to him. Like, he's so hesitant to throw punches unless he sees like a really clear opening that it makes it hard. I think you're right with part of the respects to something that could beat Charlo, but I think part of the thing is we haven't really seen anybody that could challenge him in that way. Him nor his brother. I think the Jarrett Hurd fight would be great for Charlo because it would provide him with someone bigger, someone that he's going to have to be active with, someone that's going to have to sit down on punches and box a little bit too. And I think that's where it's going to be difficult because I don't think anybody's going to be able just to walk right in and just beat the shit out of them. I think they're going to have to come in with some game plan and have an idea of how they want to approach Charlo besides just brute force, because he can box enough to make it go his way, I think. And so I think whenever we're talking about that, I think you definitely got to bring some output, and I think you definitely have to apply some pressure, but you have to do it in the smart way. You couldn't do it like Mickey Ward did, coming face first, hands up against Arturo Gatti. You have to come in with a jab, but it can't be a lazy ass jab because he's going to counter that. So there's just certain things in my mind that I see that make me believe it's going to be really hard to knock him off that perch. I just don't see it being an easy task. Hurd, I think, can, but my question in that fight is, can Hurd stand up to Charlo's power? Because if he lets himself get hit like Lara hit him, it's going to be an easy fight for Charlo. And I think he's got more power than Lara had, and I think he's got enough power to hurt Hurd, and I think Hurd is not the guy to beat him. That's just the way I see it right now. The fight last night, though, going back to that, it was, kind of a dull fight, but I think it was more on Trout's end than anything. Just because of the way he fights. I've never been a real big fan of the guy. He's not someone I enjoy watching. I'll just leave it at that.
Yep, no problem, Gabe. Gabe Lewis there, everybody, throwing out the big questions. If you want to answer him at GL Boxing Asylum over on Twitter, I'm sure they'll be happy to engage with you. Smido. Right, we need a bet from you, Smido. I know Ozzy has been pumping you up with clenbuterol, ready to give us bet of the week. While you're thinking about that, answer this question from Jack Nalty. He's a big fan of the pod, which is good to hear. He said, I want your opinion, Smido, on the Dillian White versus Joseph Parker fight. I think it's a decent fight myself, says Jack, apart from the fact that it's on pay-per-view. Assuming Dillian White wins the fight, does that then mean he is a pay-per-view fighter? Oh, God. Perish the thoughts, Mid.
The short answer to that's no. On the face of it, it's a good fight. I don't mind the fight at all. Dillian White's still got a lot to prove. Joseph Parker is known to the public over here, and this is going to be his third fight on the spin on these shores. I've not got too much of a problem with the fight. I've got a massive fuck off problem with it being pay per view. I think it's becoming clear now with Joshua's only got 2 fights in him a year now, as any top fighter across the world, really appears to be at the moment, with the pay-per-view model there. So yeah, they need to fill pay-per-view dates, and this seems that Matchroom and Sky are hell-bent on this show being a pay-per-view. It's going to go along the lines of one of the stacked card approaches, which we haven't had for some time. We've had it with Bellew and Cleverly 2. We had it with Royal Britannia, whatever it was called, a couple of years ago with Kell Brook and Frankie Gavin. Now, given the size of Eddie Hearn's stable, and I've said this before, he's got the ability to put a stack card together and call it pay-per-view basically whenever he wants. He's got the likes of Cal Yafai. Previously, we've used the likes of Jamie McDonald, George Groves, although he doesn't promote him. So he's had the ability to put together a pay-per-view card because he's been able to bring world champions in. I think that's diminished a little bit. Groves is obviously occupied. Callum Smith's obviously occupied. He's lost the use of James DeGale and Lee Selby, seemingly. So he's pretty much Scott Quigg's gone out the window as well. All of those guys have been kind of used as meat to the bones of a stacked card. Brooks no longer a world champion, and Yafai fought recently. So he's got a lot to think about in regards to this event. We've already proven that that Dillian White is not a massive ticket seller as what he needs to be to sell out the O2. It's still one of the biggest indoor arenas in the country, if not the biggest. And I think Dillian, we've already proven that he can't do that. I think Dillian White's crap. I've fought this for a long time, and it cost me money in the Lucas Brown fight. But that's probably the best we've seen of Dillian White in that Lucas Brown fight. But Lucas Brown was a fat mess. Ian Lewisham was a fat mess. Derek Chisora is past his best, quite a long way, I think, by the time Dillian White went absolutely life and death with him. And Dillian White was also rocked by Robert Helenius, and we've already mentioned Mr. Helenius tonight, and his prime was possibly 5 years ago against Mr. Chisora as well. So we've got wins on there against Dave Allen. He's landed the same amount of punches on Anthony Joshua as he has Howard Foster. I don't know. I don't understand how we've got to the position where he's the most avoided man, or outside of the champions is the best heavyweight on the planet, or whatever words that Eddie Hearn wants to use. They've lost a purse bid yet again. This is something that our friend Porky Russ has been covering. He knows more about it than me, but the purse bid situation, shocking. They could have fought Ortiz as a final eliminator with the WBC. They could have fought Pulev, I think, going down the IBF route, but they've steered away from that. And now we're in with Joseph Parker. Now, what's the point in this fight? Where does it keeps him on the radar? I don't know whether the game, he's already number one in a couple of governing bodies apparently, so it's not going to push him any further up the rankings. Like I say, it's a good fight. Joseph Parker's pretty good. It is pretty 50-50 on paper. And the pair of them are genuinely both top 10 heavyweights. But for it to be pay-per-view, I think shocking. But it's got to the stage now, and I think you guys have been at this stage for a while. I don't give a flying fuck, to be honest, what's on pay-per-view, because I don't pay. And I think a lot of people, and I think you guys have been there for a while, and I think a lot of people think like that. They're going to have to do something quite remarkable on the undercard of this to do any serious numbers, and it's only 6 weeks away. So if they're on about putting world title fights on there, they need to get that done pretty sharpish, like next week. As for who I think wins the fight, I don't know. I'll probably pick Parker. White did look the best I've seen him last time. He was jabbing quite a lot better, and he looked in decent shape. But how can we use a massively obese Lucas Brown as a yardstick?
I might pick White, Smitho. I don't know.
No, I mean, well, like I said, it is on. I talk about delivery and expectations again. The expectations was Dillian. Well, firstly, Dillian White was going to fight Wilder. That was one expectation given. Then it's final eliminator. We've not been delivered either of them. And we're going back to talking about the buzzword now seems to be proof of funds. Well, they've used that shite with Wilder, and they've called his bluff. And now they're using it with these guys who want to put a fight on in Bulgaria. But again, I'm going to reference Porky Russ because he said today about the IBF. If they can't pay, if the Pulev's guys or investors or whatever they may be can't pay the funds within a certain amount, say it's a month for the deposit, then it just goes to the next guy who bidded, and that was Edward Hearn. But like, when was the last time they won a purse bid or ever? They just manipulate the agenda to what they want it to be. I mean, but what's Parker's best win? Probably Takam
or Ruiz.
Or Ruiz, which was a vacant title. I mean, and what's Dillian White's best win?
Lucas Brown.
Yeah. Like on form, you would probably have to say Lucas Brown. Yeah, he had that good win in Russia under questionable circumstances, but he turned up in the ring a mess. Simple as that.
Andy, we give Eddie a lot of stick, but on Wednesday night, I don't think we can give him stick for this. This was a good, solid domestic card. Ted Cheeseman doing the business against Paulie Upton. Ryan Doyle, as predicted by Ozzy, the betting guru. I haven't forgotten about you, Smido. Beat Reece Bellotti. I think it was about 8 or 10 to 1. And in the main event, Ozzy again said as soon as Luke Watkins took a shot bang on the chin, he'd get knocked out. I thought he'd do a lot better than he did against Coley. I actually thought Watkins' performance, I know he's been on the pod and everything, it was piss poor. He barely, did he even land a shot?
I don't think he did, mate. I don't think he threw a punch actually at one point, did he?
I don't know.
No, you got to say fair play to Coley. He's still basic as fuck, Coley.
Simple stuff, wasn't it? It was like left jab, right hand, left hook to the body. That's all he needed to do. He's huge. The guy's freaking huge.
Yeah, he's huge. And he's got something like the arms. I don't know what length. He must be 9 inches minimum. But again, you know, I'm a big Alexis Aguero fan. As I says, you got jab, right hand, left hook. If you can master the basics of boxing, you will go far. Doesn't matter how good you are, you will go far if you can master those 3 punches. But Coley, still a work in progress. But Watkins, I was really disappointed. I really was. I expected a wee bit more from him to kind of, show the shots. Bellotti against Doyle, actually, that was a great fight. To be honest, though, if you look at it, Bellotti, I picked him to win the fight. Jesus Christ, the rate of right hands he was taking during that fight was unbelievable. Ryan Doyle, fair play to him. They mentioned during the commentary as well as his wife just basically gave, or his girlfriend gave birth to a new son. So, basically giving a wee boost, fighting just for himself anymore. He's fighting for his son as well. And Ted Cheeseman, he's got a new fan in me. What was that guy's name? Was it Martin Gilly? Is he still big up?
Darryl Jelly. He's always been a fan of the cheese.
Yeah, the big cheese. I like the big cheese now because simple fact is, was it Friday? No, it was Tuesday. He put out a picture on Twitter that with the Rangers top on. Obviously, the Uptons are big Celtic fans and that. So Ted Cheeseman posts himself with Rangers top on, puts it on Twitter and that. But I've got to give him minus points for then deleting that tweet, clearly because the Mankeys were giving him a hard time and calling him a Hun bastard, the orange cunt, and all that sort of stuff and that. But,
yeah, but he said sorry for that, man.
He didn't say sorry for it. In fact, he shat it. He shat it. He should have stepped up, be the man, stepped up and says, look, listen, I'm a Rangers fan. Fuck the Celtic. Paul Upton, I'm going to knock you. He did that 4 rounds.
Rangers fans are clutching the straws this year.
Whatever. To be honest, though, see, boys, Rob, if Bermondsey, so basically he's a Millwall fan. Millwall fans are quite connected to Rangers and that as well.
Yeah, I've noticed it.
There's that wee connection there as well. But no, to be honest, get away from the bullshit and that. Cheeseman, he's constantly impressing me as he continues through his career. I think he's at the point in his career now, he needs to go up to at least European level, British level. I really don't know if we're going to get him anybody at British level, in all honesty, actually. But no, I think he's definitely European level ability. He's tough. He's always in shape. Good body puncher and that as well. So I think definitely that. Obviously, he's never going to fight like Liam Smith, Kell Brook, maybe Liam Williams if that fight can get made. I really don't know who Cheeseman and.
Aren't they talking about him fighting the stripper for the Commonwealth title, Zarafa? Wasn't that mentioned, Andy?
I can't remember that one, mate.
Someone said, I didn't see the interviews, but somebody said that Eddie had mentioned it maybe in a post-fight interview or an IFL or something. They were talking about putting Cheeseman in with Zarafa, that stripper who fought Quillen.
No, I didn't see that one, mate. No.
Maybe I just made it up. I don't know.
Oh, well, to be honest, mate, I try and read stuff as I go along in that, but I'm just thinking, you know, I'm racking my brain as to who is with Warren, who's with Hearn, because obviously it's never going to happen unless it's like a cross-border fight, unless it's a world title.
Fowler, isn't it? They're talking about putting him in with.
Well,
Anthony Fowler.
I would put him with Fowler as long as Cheeseman's going to fucking knock him out, because I didn't like Fowler. But what about Fowler, Cheeseman against Eggington?
Yeah. Egg against Cheese.
That's a really good fucking fight, and that's an in-house fight, so that's something Hearn could make pretty much, you know, pretty well. There's no point. I don't know if Jimmy Kelly is still with Warren, if he's still in Australia. I have no idea. But Brook and Smith, you can forget. Can I know? I think Can's getting ranked at 154 with the British rankings, but that's never going to happen, honestly. But no, I think Cheeseman and Eggington would be the fight to make it at this point. Actually, either way, especially if you're going to push him on the title level at British and European. I know who's it? Yeah, Eggington lost to again. Was it for the European title? Who was it? Was it the French boy, the French guy?
Moon.
Aye. So I think that fight, Eggington against Cheeseman, I'd make that fight next.
Right, let's move on to the final bits. Sticking with a heavyweight theme, actually, Rob, we were talking earlier about Nathan Gorman's performance on the undercard. He could possibly fight Daniel Dubois. There's also mentioned Joe Joyce as well. Joe Joyce is actually fighting Richard Lartey for the Commonwealth title next Friday night. Talk about Joyce, Dubois, Gorman, Rob, where these sort of next level heavyweights all fit in. Gorman looked decent, actually.
Well, I'm sure Joyce is going to blow the head off Latte. No, I was. Someone was asking me about it the other day, and I wasn't even sure that the fight was made. They were actually asking me on Twitter who I think they'd win, and I wasn't paying attention. I didn't know that fight was made, so it was a good win for him. A big lump for lad, like, isn't he? Him and Joyce is a really interesting fight because Joyce's camp are crying out for opponents for him. They're moving him on, and they're looking for kind of bigger names or higher profile guys, and looking up the way a little bit. But there's an interesting fight, kind of an intriguing fight for both guys who could literally lose and still go on to have a career. Like, if they met now, there'd be no shame in either of them losing. So I'd watch that fight for sure. Like, or Dubois. Yeah, spot on to Ozzy, because I wasn't on last week, but I was listening to him, and I was only going to stick a few quid on Doyle. He was that convinced that Doyle was going to do Bellotti, like, so. And he got like you said, he got a Cody Watkins right as well. So Ozzy's not here tonight, but you got to give it to him. Spot on for the British scene, always.
Yeah, well done. No pressure on you, Smido, to come up with the betting tip of the week later on. Next week in
Poland. There's hardly anything on next week.
Well, something coming over the next few weeks or what? I mean, say, what's the value if White was fighting Parker?
You casual. There's great fights on next week. Stop talking about a casual.
Right, well, there's nothing priced up.
We've got Fanfara against Silla.
I'm just about to come to that, actually.
Right, for the Boxing Asylum betting tip of the week, please refer to Ozzy Smith on Twitter. I'm bailing.
Okay, thanks, Smido. Smido is always bailing before Bellew of the week. Fanfara Silla.
Andy is roasting fellas today. He's knocking fellas off the call left, right, and centre, man.
I know, man. I'm icing people. Just they kind of live with the king, the chief, the guru. They just kind of do it.
Smido's buggered off. He's jumped off the call. Yeah, Fanfara Silak is on next week and not a Polish international title to be seen, unfortunately. Gabe, let's bring you back in. I know you're still with us. Errol Spence Jr. over in Texas, the Texas Combative Sports Program in Frisco. He's fighting against Carlos Ocampo. He's 22-0 Ocampo, but I know exactly what this guy is going to be. He's going to be like what Centeno was for Spence. No, not Spence. What's the other guy? Charlo. He's going to be like a sort of slow Mexican, slow of hand. He's going to be made to order for Spence. Gabe, what do you think? Is he going to cause any problems?
Not that I can tell. Haven't seen tons of tape of Ocampo before, but what I have seen, I just I don't see too much of this being exciting unless you're a Spence fan. And then, of course, if that's the case, you're going to be having a blast at this one. Shouldn't be too long. Shouldn't be too intense. You know, one thing I like about Errol Spence is that I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, and the kid keeps his head in the game and focuses on what he's doing. He's not out there running around trying to act like garbage like Broner and some of those other clowns. So I think it's a good. Going to be a good night for him in terms of what it does for him. I don't know. I think personally he's being mismanaged. I think he should have already had a couple of fights if they were going to be this level. You know, he had that huge win last year, and then he just sat out and sat out and sat out and sat out and sat out. And he doesn't really strike me as the kind of guy that wants to fight once a year. I don't think he needs to. I think with the style that he fights, he needs to be in the ring more often. I'm not saying they need to wear the guy out and put him in 4 or 5 times a year. But
yeah, that's unrealistic, isn't it, Gabe? Because people say that about Golovkin, like, oh, he only fights 2 or 3 times a year. But once your opposition level goes up to the very top level, you're not going to fight 4 or 5 times because it's a different set of problems, a different level of training. You know, it's a natural. Although I agree with you, Spence should be fighting more than once.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're dead on the money about it. You know, I mean, you're talking about, you know, guys that fight twice a year are fighting top of the line talents. You got a guy like Lomachenko who, without injuries, barring any cuts, will probably fight 3 times a year at the rate he's been going at. Now that if he's going to stay at 140, then he should fight less. You know what I mean? But I think a guy like Spence, he's young, he's in his prime. Give him some damn fights. I mean, I think that could be the only thing that would be problematic for him in this fight is just not having the activity that he probably should have. Should be an easy night, though.
Yeah, we're going to wait for Andy to come back, and then we're going to talk about the Newcastle show, which I actually think, again, all this credit that I'm giving to Eddie, Andy, it's going to get me a bad name and a bad reputation, but I think this is a good Saturday night card. I was considering going over, actually. A couple of the other boys are going over because Paul Hyland is fighting for the British title against Lewis Ritson. I don't think I'll bother, to be honest, but I had considered it because the flights were cheap at the time. But you've got Josh Kelly on there as well. He's fighting this Chris George, but that's just going to be the standard Australian, you know, the way they bought Jared Fletcher over for Billy Joe, the way they bought, who was that guy who fought Darren Barker? Ben Crampton, I think it was. Mark Kwan for Carl Frampton. You know, he's gonna fold this George character, I think. Gavin McDonnell as well against Stuart Hall. On paper, names-wise, it's not a bad undercard fight. Arfan Iqbal against Simon Vallily should be a good one as well. And also Charlie Edwards against Anthony Nelson. We had Anthony on the pod recently. I don't think it's a bad card. Those 5 fights, Andy, for Saturday night aren't the worst, to be honest.
Also, TB's on the card as well, mate. Ricky Burns.
Oh, that's good to see.
Was he burnt as well? But Burns is still TBA. I imagine he'll be fighting a 9 rounder, I suppose. But no, it'd be good to see Edwards against Nelson. If Nelson's up for it, if it's a good camp, it would be Edwards a good fight. McDonald, Stuart Hall, again, Hall getting recycled. So I dare say that'll probably go the distance. Probably a safe bet. Stuart Hall's usually tough for 12 rounds. Josh Kelly, again, I agree with you. I think he'll probably do it, and he'll probably do the business. I think he'll do it pretty early, actually. I think he'll maybe do his guy in about 5 or 6 rounds. And Ritson, obviously, it'd be good to see him. But again, it'd be good to see the atmosphere in that as well. I don't know what the attendance is at this Metro Arena in Newcastle, but it'd be good to see guys like Ritson being successful up there, because if he ever does get a world title fight and stuff like that, it's no far for us Scottish boys to travel down there as well to see him. So hopefully he does well. And it's a start for things to come that Eddie Hearn starts putting shows on Newcastle in future.
Hopefully. Right, let's get on to the Belly of the Weeks and get out of here. We've just got the last men standing now. Oh, Donny's left the chat. Thanks, Donny. Great contribution from you tonight.
He was world class on it, Donny, wasn't he?
He was. Brilliant stuff from Donny as always. Real measured input. Andy's still with us. Gabe's still with us. Rob is, but I know that Rob has to go soon. Rob has nominated for Bellew of the Week the Charlo's lion head from the Wizard of Oz. We'll see how much heart Charlo has whenever he gets into a big fight, but that was a good one, wearing the big lion head. The first nomination that I have is from Five Minded over on Twitter. Five Minded have said, out of respect for Martin Murray, I am not going to watch the Billy Joe Saunders next fight. Absolute joke pulling out. Hashtag boycott Billy Joe Saunders. So out of respect for Murray, everybody, I think we should all boycott the next Billy Joe Saunders fight. I'm sure Billy Joe Saunders will not give a shit about that. Michael Benson has been talking about Chris Eubank Jr. possibly facing John Ryder on the undercard of George Groves, Callum Smith. Ashley Cartwright jumped in and said, Eubank Jr. has been asked to face Martin Murray. That fight is bigger than the Super Series final if it's done right, says Ashley. Jay Steele, 88, has rightly nominated her for that. John Angus McDonald has been nominated from you. No, actually, sorry, Andy, you've nominated Anna Woolhouse for referring to Yulusinov as a Ukrainian. John Angus McDonald actually mentioned that one to us. So he's not
also nominated for a skirt at the York Hall.
What was it you said? That was perfect one.
I can't remember. What did I say again?
It was. He says that if the leather skirt,
the leather skirt. If it's the York Hall, basically, if it's as hot as what they're saying it was, then the York Hall is going to be smelling like an Arbro fucking fishing trawler. I mean, Jesus. And the last thing.
You still there with us, Andy? May have lost Andy here. He's muted himself. Update everybody. Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you now, Andy. Yeah.
Sorry about that. No, it says she's a wee bit colour than that as well, you know. So it's just she looks ill, basically. She just looks ill. That's all. It's just plus winning a leather skirt and that as well. Her poontang must have been sweating.
Shout out to all the female listeners, by the way, just reminded me. There was some goings on here. I'm not going to get into it because it was a real long thread between that lad, Frank, who ended up going protected, Robert Digital, some kind of issue with Jay Wheeler online as well. They were confusing over someone's photo, and you'll have to go and see it on Twitter. It's too complicated to explain, really, over it's not amusing for me to explain it. Ashley Cartwright again was going on. Gareth Chamberlain's nominated her. Good one from you here, Andy. Leo Santa Cruz was nominated for being the PBC Fighter of the Week. Leo, pretty active, hasn't he been recently? So it's a worthy nomination for him.
Yeah, what was his last fight? November, October? Hasn't
fought since last October, which was against a fighter who was 2-3 in his last 5 fights, with the 3 defeats coming with him getting the granddad kicked out of him. So Leo Santa Cruz, off the back of this fantastic victory last October, was the PBC Fighter of the Week.
And we won't see him again for at least 9 months. Fantastic. Let's move on.
Brilliant stuff. And Andy has nominated Mauro Ranallo, who keeps on going about every fight being a fuego. Santa Cruz Mares 2 is the rematch we've all been looking forward to this week, says Mauro Ranallo. Yes, Mauro, I'm sure that is correct. The Boxing Kingdom have been nominated by Chris Blackman for having Tony Bellew as their number 1 in the heavyweight rankings ahead of Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Boxing polls, we mentioned him earlier. Scott Robbins has nominated him for talking about Tommy and the dog rape incident. Dan Allen has also nominated Boxing polls. He's just sent a tweet to Anthony Joshua. Hi, champ, says Mr. Polls. Just purchased this cushion with your face on it. Will look great. Can't wait for it to arrive. Hashtag the GOAT. He's quite the character, this Boxing Polls. Go and follow him. What's his Twitter handle? @_Boxing Polls. Anthony Fowler has been nominated, rightly in my opinion, by Matthew. This is classic bullshit, this is. Fowler said during the Flanagan Hooker fight, I don't think Flanagan deserves to win tonight, but I'll be buzzing for him if he gets it. What a heart. And as Matthew jumped in and said, so you'll be buzzing if someone gets robbed, you mong. You see that all the time, don't you? Smigger's one for that, Andy, isn't he? Oh, I don't think so-and-so deserves to win the fight, but I'll be buzzing if he gets it. What, at the expense of someone else by a robbery?
It's just like, pre-fight as well as, I like to see so-and-so win the fight, but you just know they're up against it, so-and-so and this, that, and the next thing. You just, just the party line, mate.
Yep, toeing the party line. Brian King has been iced from Twitter, but he was on Facebook earlier messaging me. Bellew of the Week for Paul Dempsey for saying that there's a look of Donald Curry about Maurice Hooker. Well, we mentioned Mark Breland earlier, me and Rob, and Marlon Starling. Just maybe we deserve to be nominated.
What's happened to Brian, by the way? What's happened to his Twitter account this time? He's never done anything that I could see that he's...
I think he just gets iced straight away, doesn't he? So he's taken to Facebook to send me messages now. I think he's done. He's done with the game. He's shot to bits, isn't he? Like he's like current day James Toney.
Yeah, but what can you do, man? I mean, you got to let it go at some point. Just I was speaking to Tommy about 6 months ago about this, right? Just see if you're gonna watch boxing, then I get emotionally invested. Just follow guys that you want to watch. For me, music and stuff like that. I really hope his fight ends up in like Western Europe, so we can watch him unify the division. So just do that, mate. Then I fucking get wound up with Hearn and all that sort of shit. Just fucking follow boxing, follow the fighters you want to go and watch. Go and watch them. Go and travel if you want to go and travel. Go to Scotland, go to America. Doesn't matter. Just watch boxing, mate.
Talking of Bellew of the Week, a opportune update from our friend here, Donny Baseball. He has got in touch. He said, sorry, I had to sit on the recliner because my battery was low, close to the outlet for charging, and I guess I found a mighty comfortable position because Donny fell sound asleep. So he's been sleeping through the last 2 hours there with his phone charging next to him. So that's what's happened to him, Andy. He's not dead. That's classic Donny, isn't it?
That is, I mean, he was clearly balls deep with last night, but it's a shame he had died, though, eh? I'm sorry, Donny. I'm not joking. I love you, mate.
We love you, Donny. We love you, Donny.
He's getting married. Listen, mate, he's getting married next year. He going over for it?
Yeah, I think I might, actually.
New England. I'll need to say him as long as it's during the NFL. I want to go see the Patriots and that. So you need to Donny. You need to tell wait till at least September, October at minimum. All right.
What's that? Is that baseball or something?
Oh, it's like NFL, mate. But it's just it's a good night. But get on the piss, Send the mum and shot me, go on the piss.
Yeah, no, I am planning on going over for Donny's wedding, whether he invites me or not. Right, let's move on with Bellew of the Weeks. Chris Blackman has nominated Frank, obviously, for thinking that Fury was fighting Manuel Charlo last night. Obviously, he was hitting the whiskey hard watching this dross, said Limerick's finest Dave Lee.
So
hopefully we'll get him back on. Hopefully we'll get Dave Lee back on the pod at some point. But nomination.
Come on, Dave, get on here, you pussy.
Come on, Dave.
Dave Lee, get on here.
We love Dave. Yeah, we want Dave back on again, and with punches from the past as well. John Kearns has nominated him and his friend CJ Harrison, both big listeners to the pod. They've nominated themselves for the fact that they were out at an Ed Sheeran concert last night rather than watching the Tyson Fury fight. May as well both start watching Matchroom Cards, the pair of minges we are, says John Kearns. Well, you know what? You didn't actually miss too much, to be honest, John. Gabe, thank you very much. He's going. It's only me and you, Andy. They're all dropping off. Vince Cummings of the Boxing Rant fame. Go over and listen to them. I'm a regular listener. Good guy is Vince and Kenny. He has nominated regular Bellew of the Week contributor Haz Haroon. Haz Haroon said Crawford will win against Horn, and then he will get exposed when he faces Amir Khan. I doubt he'll take the Khan fight, though. We'll probably duck him the way that Mayweather and Pac-Man did. Thank you for that, Haroon. Sean Stevenson has nominated Jimmy Lennon Jr. for getting caught out by Frank Warren parody account. What about Daniel Dubois, Jimmy, says the fake account. He dropped Holyfield, Wilder and Ali all in the same sparring session. And Jimmy Lennon Jr. responded, no question, Dubois is a monster and a future star. Fascinating future for the heavyweights. And that is all the ones I've got. If you've asked me a question this week, by the way, we'll probably sort all them out next week now because we're about to finish up, and we won't have too much on to discuss next week. Do you have any nominations, Andy? I think Rob was the Lionhead, wasn't it? Go ahead.
I've got two. Barry Jones, basically during the Metcalf fight.
Oh yeah.
Metcalf was a left hook and it's welded as fuck, right? And he just ducks underneath it. Jones shouts, good left hook there for Metcalf, right? Just so Barry Jones for that. And Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas got called out by the Australian press. You know how Atlas shot on Pacquiao for his... he shot on Jeff Horn for his victory over Pacquiao, right?
Yes.
And for the Australians, Jeff Horn's kind of carried Australian boxing for a wee bit. So the press are kind of, rightly or wrongly pissed off about it. So they called out Teddy Atlas and they wanted to have a sit-down or a conference call with Teddy Atlas. Atlas, being the man he is, he agreed to it. And what happens, by the time it came to call for it, nobody turned up. They actually asked some questions. Right? And I'm saying to myself, Teddy Atlas, you should have done your history lesson, because think about this. The Australians are basically, the vast majority of Australians were like English people who went out in chains, were criminals and stuff. So you actually trusted these people?
Andy's offending the whole nation of Australia here.
Oh, the banter. So I want to put up Teddy Atlas. I think that was, do your history, mate. Do your research. Can I trust them? They cause palms. I'm Scottish, for fuck's sake.
Gabe, I noticed you haven't disappeared yet. Is there anything you want to add, sir, before we go out?
No, I just think I would cast my vote for the Lion's Head Charlo.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, who are you going for, Andy? I'm tempted to go for Anthony Fowler. I don't know. What do you think?
What was Fowler's one again?
He said that he thought Flanagan had lost the fight, but he was basically hoping Hooker would get robbed, you know, because Flanagan had showed heart.
Oh, what a... Fowler, I just want to see him get in a fight and he's just going to get knocked out. No, but I'm going to go for Terry Atlas. That's just pure research, you know. That's just pure research. Terry Atlas for me.
Terry Atlas as well. So we have a three-way tie. Then we've got Fowler with Atlas, and we've also got Gabe putting forward the Lion's Head. I think that's where we'll leave it. Final message from Dave the Hater Lowback. We always like hearing from him.
I'm a gorilla. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a gorilla. I talk the most shit.
Love a bit of Dave Lowback. Thanks to you, Dave. Thanks to Gabe as well. He was doing impressions earlier. Andy Patterson as well, the stalwart of the show. Rob Kelly was on with us. Adam Smido-Smith. Great to have Tommy the Guru Allen back as well. And also a special mention to Jason Chuckry for coming on. We're only joking with you, Jason. It takes a man to show the balls to come on with us and talk shit. And we know you've been on in the past, and you're always welcome to come on in the future. Same for you, Patrick, and all those other boys as well. Come on and join us. And a special thanks to Donny Baseball for all his input as well, sitting back in his recliner, wanking himself off. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you for joining us all. We'll catch you all again the same time, same place next week. Bye.